The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
The season. The 2024 season.
Oh, my God.
Damn it.
You can't say that on the radio.
Oh, really?
Hold on, do 5 seconds of silence.
All right, 5 seconds.
Five
We are
seconds of
off to a
silence.
hell of a start.
I didn't know that.
Wait, get out.
Damn, it wasn't coming.
Shit, damn. Get them all out real quick. Hold on, then we'll rerun it. Shit, damn.
You can't do
Hold
this on
on.
YouTube either.
Oh, I don't care. I don't give a
Oh,
shit. All right, here we go. We're good. 5 seconds of silence and we'll start so Case doesn't have to edit. Here we go.
The season, the 2024 season, is it officially over? I think we're going to be talking a lot about the Bengals today, and rightfully or wrongfully so, depending on where people want to take it. I don't know if you could tell. It's a little tense in here. Guys are a little upset. Jacob has lost his cool, and that's okay.
I'm not having fun.
He did it early on in the show to where it was very easy to edit out, and that is all that matters.
That's
all
right.
mistakes are editable, almost. But we welcome you in Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett. I got called out for wearing the same shirts all the time, so I broke out a new shirt.
There you go. It's Chris.
It's just all white, but hey, you know it's
crisp.
it's a brand new shirt. So
It's like you're going for a jog or something.
you know,
I like it.
does it look like I jog?
Yeah, it looks like you
Does this
jog.
look like a little weight to you?
You're in shape, baby. You're in shape.
All right, Casey. Good morning.
How was your night?
My
Did you
night
get
was okay. I lost money again. It's the second straight week where I felt confident that your team was going to win me some money, and they have let me down. I think they let a lot of people down last night, but nonetheless. Casey, I know this is show number 2 for you, obviously driving the bus along with Tom earlier for Dialed In. But, yeah, I heard you're fired up today. You're fired up today.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what the people don't know is that before Tom's show, I got all my curse words out with Tom. I've ranted now for it feels like hours. I mean, I was ranting after the game too, just with friends and family, and it's just so tired. I'm so tired over it. This team is not good. They're not good right now. And I don't know how else to put it. They're just not good at the moment.
No, not good at the moment. 0-3, obviously, and that's what has everyone fired up. Look, we've seen this team jump out to slow starts in the past. Those have been 0-2 starts that turned into 1-2, and then 2-2, and all this. Even I did not envision an 0-3 start. In fact, when you look at the schedules in recent years, there were opportunities to be 0-3. There were opportunities to start out worse than what this schedule had laid out. The Patriots and the Commanders, obviously the Chiefs there in the middle, and ironically enough, that's been the best game that was played, which is wild. And again, there's so much to dissect from this game. Again, the Bengals dropped to 0-3 last night, Monday Night Football. Let me ask you, there's a lot of problems. Defense is atrocious. It's nauseatingly bad. There's no doubt about it. But of all the problems that are out there, you play bad against the Patriots. You look like a Super Bowl contender against the Chiefs. I know it's a loss, but I think, I tuned in last Monday. I remember, you guys were doing a good job of emphasizing no moral victories, but you couldn't watch that game and not feel like, okay, we're fine. Like the offense played well, the defense made situational stops from time to time. Wasn't pretty, but hey, usually the games against the Chiefs aren't pretty. But is this a problem of playing down to the competition and up to the competition, or is this team reached rock bottom with the deficiencies that obviously beyond exist on the defensive side of the ball?
Once I kind of worked through last night, my original feelings on last night, I came away more worried about how good the Chiefs might be, because if you're only able to throw for 150 yards against this secondary and you only beat this Bengals team by 1 point, I don't know that you're that great of a team. So, yeah, I think this Bengals team isn't playing up or down to opponents. I think they're bad. I think they're flat out bad defensively, and I don't think there's a whole lot of easy fixes to it, and that's where my worries lie with this team is I don't, in the next 15 weeks, I don't necessarily think there's easy fixes unless guys take massive steps at new positions and guys come off the injured list and are right away with really, really, really good performances. But I think this defense, we're reaching a point now with this Bengals team, and we just have to hope and pray that the offense is better than the defense is bad. And I'm not so sure I'm confident in that anymore.
Yeah, it's not rock bottom. It's not rock bottom as a team as a whole. The Bengals offense looks incredible. If you want to do some pros and some cons. The pros, Joe Burrow looks healthy. His deep ball looks great. Jamar Chase had the game that we've all been waiting for. T. Higgins looked great in his opening. Andre Yoshivas looked great in his game last night. The running game was unstoppable. I thought we could get whatever we wanted on the ground. Offensively, I didn't have a single flaw. If we're going to look back and say 33 points isn't enough to win a game, I don't know how else to tell you that that's not the recipe for success. 33 points should win you a football game. And we can look back at a missed field goal, and we settled for 3 kicks in the red zone. I get it. I get all that. But at the end of the day, I mean, the offense did whatever it could do. The bad news is, as Jacob just said, the defense is so bad that I don't know if there's a way out. The Bengals defense is the worst I've ever seen. I've never seen a team. Not only did they not get a stop, which they did not. They did not get a stop. They didn't even make the threat of getting a stop. It was, I think they had 2 third downs in the fourth quarter.
That's right.
Heading into it. And it was 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1. There wasn't even a remote possibility that the Bengals defense could force a stop. Jaden Daniels looked like the greatest quarterback athlete to ever play the sport last night. He hadn't thrown a touchdown this season. Yeah. I don't know how you walk away from that game thinking that it's the offense's fault at all. I don't understand it.
They didn't sniff a stop.
Joe Burrow looked as good as he could possibly play last night. And the Bengals defense was pathetic. Casey's got some stats. He sent them in here. We're gonna do a bunch of fun stats, and by fun stats I mean terrible. But Casey,
one fun stat before we get terrible stats. Joe Burrow had 0.45 EPA per play last night.
How about that?
That's incredible.
How about that?
That's an incredible game. You can't spin it any other way than Joe Burrow having a great game.
Joe Burrow played phenomenal. That's why you pay a guy $55 million right there.
And Jamar Chase certainly looked like why you would pay a guy like that as well.
I didn't even think about the defense coming into this game. I just wanted the offense to show out. Because run
game, phenomenal.
Run game was great. I really thought that a great offense like the Bengals have, it can get through a bad defense. Like a 20th ranked defense, the Bengals can survive that because they can score 35 points a game. They cannot survive the league's worst defense. They can't be the very worst at everything. Can't happen. And they were the worst at everything last night. Sorry, Casey.
No, I mean, the thing I was waiting to say was that I thought, you kind of touched on the Jaden Daniels thing. I do think I felt like we're letting this rookie kill us. I think what kind of did me in and believing that maybe Jaden Daniels might be a good player is that final touchdown. I mean, he had 10 guys on the field, and he throws a dot to Terry McLaurin with pressure in his face.
Before Terry even gets behind Dax, he lets the ball go.
Exactly. So it's just like I do think that the coming out party for Jaden Daniels, I think we can actually crown that game as his coming out party. I think he's a legit guy. I'm sure he's still going to look like a rookie from time to time. I'm sure when he plays against tougher defenses, teams that actually have a pass rush, that he's going to look like a rookie. But I do think he played out of his mind. They played perfect on offense, whereas the Bengals did not, and it cost them the game because of how bad our defense is.
My bad.
I think when you look at the team giving up only not giving up. They had 9 third downs, the Commanders. They went 5 and 9. Okay. Well, they also went 3 for 3 on 4th down. And those were 4th and 1, 4th and 4, short yardage situations, and they just converted at will. It's as simple as that. They never allowed the Bengals defense to get off the field. You said that they only had 2 third down opportunities in the first half, and that's correct. Only 2 third downs that they ever got to, and those third downs were 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 in the first half. When you go into the second half, it gets much worse because they had an opportunity to stop them at one point. It was 3rd and 16, and they give up a huge gain to Zach Ertz, who was supposed to be bracketed coverage, double double team basically, and Von Bell just gives up 5-10 yards of cushion to him. It's just unreal. That drive included a own fumble recovery for the Commanders, a sack, 2 false starts, and a conversion of 2nd and 21, 3rd and 13, and 4th and 4.
Not going to get it done.
Not getting it done.
Casey sent a stat to us this morning. Can I read it, Casey? I don't know if you read it earlier.
Go ahead.
But I'd like to read it. PFF had the Bengals at a 9.7% pass rush win rate tonight. They called 11 blitzes. 11 blitzes. They had a 9.7% pass rush win rate, and they called 11 blitzes. They went through 4 quarters, and they changed nothing. I thought Lou Anarumo was the king of the second half, turn it around, let's play better. I thought we'd make the game plan adjustments in the second half. How do you let a rookie quarterback who hasn't thrown a touchdown this season have his way? Yeah. How do you not put a little bit of pressure on the guy? How do you not change that plan when in the first half you get torched?
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not the biggest football guy in this room. Everybody knows that. But I watched the game last night, and I watched the Commanders eat every second of that clock with not an ounce of any worry, any pressure. I was looking at Dan Quinn. Is Dan Quinn the head coach, right? Dan Quinn with that stupid backwards hat, just smiling, having fun. Jaden Daniels, everybody was smiling. It was a scrimmage. It was a professional team versus a high school team on defense. I don't understand how you're a defensive coordinator and you let the defense get out. And maybe Jacob's right. Maybe there's just not enough talent on the defense. Maybe that's what it is. But I don't understand how you consider yourself to be a professional football team, not make any adjustments whatsoever, and you just let them tick, 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 every second off that clock, while also not getting any semblance of a stop.
Again, but you're asking for the blitz, and I'm with you. They should have blitzed more, but you saw exactly what happened when they did. Dax Hill bit on the double move, touchdown to Terry McLaurin, and Jaden Daniels with pressure in his face, a dot. Like, it didn't matter what Lou did.
I would rather force Jaden Daniels to make that throw than.
No, I agree with you. I'm with you guys.
Down the field.
I'm with you guys in terms of we should have blitzed more, but it didn't matter if we did or not because our defense just sucks. They can't do anything. They can't blitz. They can't get pressure to the quarterback. They can't stop the run. Well, I guess they did, but anytime that it was a 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 3, they gave up the conversion. I'm not giving any praise to that run defense. You kidding me? Anytime that it came to a red zone stop or a first down conversion, they got it. So, no, this defense can't do jack.
And how many times with the Bengals do we talk about the short passing game as an extension of the run game? If we're going to include that in the run game last night, how many screens and dump-off passes to the running backs did we miss 5, 6, 7 tackles? Most notably, that 2nd and 20-plus at the end of the game where you let De'Ami Brown, a nobody, with all due respect, scamper through the middle of the field for about 15 yards. You miss 5 tackles when you have a chance to ice the game.
Yeah.
Honestly, watching that defense, I don't know why I think they would have got a stop on 3rd and 21. But it still would certainly be nice to have that opportunity.
And not to
just
mention,
one stat while we're being so negative here in this segment to really put in perspective how bad this defense was. Craig shared it last night on Chatterbox Bengals, but it's a great one. Since 1920, teams with 0 turnovers and 0 punts on offense while scoring at least 33 points have gone 112-0. Now 112-1.
How many games this season are we going to have historic defeats? I mean, what was it last week? It was 129 and like 6 when you hold a team's under like 200 or 300 yards and have 3 turnovers and you still lose the ball game. Unreal. But on top of that, I mean, I was going to mention Austin Eckler. Before he got hurt, he was torching us. I mean, he was the guy that had that huge kick return, right?
Yep.
I mean, every phase of the football in terms of defense sucked last night, even on special teams. It's just terrible, man. I don't know what we can do to fix it. We probably need to go to a break. We've been on this segment for way too long. I'm throwing it back over to you, Kenner.
No, you're good. Look, today we knew it was going to be a wild show for either good or bad reasons. I did not anticipate a 0-3 start to the season. I thought we'd be coming in today talking about the Bengals' first win, and especially when you look at how the offense played last night, like the obviously the secret to not really, it's not a secret. Everyone knows that the key to the success for the Bengals is the offense. But how bad defensively do you have to be to take a near perfect night from Joe Burrow and that offense away and lose to the Commanders? That's the problem. Now, I will say this on the Commanders. I know in the offseason, with you guys, I'd said it many times. I thought that the Commanders had the makeup to be the Houston Texans of last year, where you get that infusion of a great talent of rookie quarterback, and you have Terry McLaurin, you have some weapons in the wide receiver room, you have a solid tight end, good run game, and obviously that's why I was kind of buying into the Commanders coming in. Now, I didn't think it was going to take 3 weeks and actually 2 games and a half to throw a first touchdown. But like the moment where I realized, oh man, they are mocking the Bengals defense is when his first passing touchdown of his career is to an offensive lineman.
Yeah, back-to-back weeks with a big man touchdown.
Tough.
This defense is a joke. I said it last night. This defense is quite literally a laughingstock of the league. No one takes him seriously. Why would you? You can run plays to back up O-linemen and score touchdowns. It's just fun for everybody. You get to play the Bengals, circle it. Let the seniors play. It's senior night in the NFL. Call up a practice squad guy, get him a touchdown, throw him a bone, get him a bonus. I don't know. What is this defense going to stop? Can't stop receivers. Might as well see if they can stop O-linemen. Oh, look. Can't do that either. Yeah, I mean, it's just everything about it's terrible.
All right, so we'll step away for a few moments. More reaction last night. Again, the Cincinnati Bengals drop, unfortunately, to 0-3, 38-33, the final. The Commanders come out. They improved to 2-1 on the season, and they get a big road win. Obviously, McDaniels is the talk of all shows this morning. I mean, not just a good game for a rookie. I mean, that was as dominant of a quarterback performance that we have seen all season, not just against the Bengals, but across the league. Was that his coming out party? We'll find out in the coming weeks. But right now, it's all focused on Cincinnati. Reaction to last night, where do they go from here? Is the season officially lost? What is going on with the Cincinnati Bengals team? More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers when we come back. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here on this Tuesday version of Off the Bench. Reaction to the Cincinnati Bengals 38-33, the final last night. So I dialed in with Tom and Casey, obviously you and Luke a little bit ago. And I know Tom everyone's focusing on the defense. Tom had mentioned the offensive side of the ball, right? Like as far as the expectations. And I saw everyone jumping on Tom, and I'm not here to put any blame on Joe Burrow and the offense, but I am one to at least say the idea that you can't criticize the offense at all for the rest of the season with this defense, I think that's wrong when you have a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. I mean, what more could they have done? I mean, that's a fair question, but I also know that there were more plays that could be made. But the bottom line is fair not. The Cincinnati Bengals the rest of the season, the record of the Bengals will be a reflection of Joe Burrow, whether it's his fault or not. That's just the reality of it. I do know this, when the Buffalo Bills have a bad defense, no one is sitting there saying, man, Josh Allen, poor guy, just doesn't have a defense. Man, if only he had a defense, right? Like if his defense is bad. If the Kansas City Chiefs started out 0-3 with the Bengals defense, I guarantee you none of you would be sitting here saying, well, that Patrick, oh, by golly, I mean, that poor guy, he just doesn't have a defense, right? Like, we don't do that for other teams. We know how this works. I know we're going to be defensive of Joe Burrow. We're going to get defensive of the offense because that's the precious baby. That's the identity of this team, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe the fact that the identity of this team being so offensive-leaning, that's the problem. What's the conference for years? I know college football, the dynamic of college football has shifted over the years, but what's the conference, especially during the 14 playoff, that got absolutely no love or no credit for anything? That was the Big 12. You would have your Baker Mayfield-led Oklahomas or Kyler Murray, or you would have your Oklahoma States. You would have these dynamic offenses that scored an absolute crap ton of points, but no one gave them any kind of credibility whatsoever. Well, that's fine. You're going to win games with your offense, but you're not going to win the games that matter when you don't have a defense. We always poo-pooed on the Big 12, and that's exactly what the Cincinnati Bengals are. They are a high-powered offensive, scoring machine that can't stop anybody. They are a Big 12 team. You're going to have a lot of entertaining games the rest of the way. You're going to have a lot of high-scoring games the rest of the way. You're going to be in a lot of shootouts, which is fun from a football fan perspective. It's not fun from a Bengals fan perspective. But the unfortunate part is there's going to be a lot of games that Joe Burrow and the Bengals are put in a position where the offense and Joe Burrow has to go out there and win you games. And this is not a Joe Burrow rule. This is the rule for football. Quarterbacks, it doesn't matter what you do in quarterback in quarters 1 through 3.5. Unfortunately, it's what do you do to help win your team the game. I'm not blaming him. There's nothing really more he could have done last night.
There is nothing.
We could talk about the underthrow to Jamar Chase, the overthrow to T in the back of the end zone. Those things, though, are not a big deal when you have a defense to bail you out, but those are what the critics are going to say is, where were you on that throw? I don't care what you did the previous throws. It's those throws. I'm not saying that's fair or not, but that's the reality of it. And unfortunately, as bad as this defense is, I know Bengals fans will give Joe Burrow a pass, but the perception of Joe Burrow moving forward, unfortunately, will be impacted by just how bad this defense is. Joe Burrow's going to be put in a position a lot this year to have to lead come from behind wins or hold on to and sustain leads, right? Fair or not, that's the reality of it, and I think we saw that on full display last night. I don't think Tom was way off in bringing up the deficiencies of the offense because, unfortunately, people could say, well, how can you say they need to be perfect? I mean, that's the unfortunate part. They have to be. And that's not whether it's right, wrong, fair, or foul. The reality is, we saw last night how much better of a game can you get offensively from the Bengals, especially because it wasn't just the pass game. The run game. I've been critical of the Bengals' run game in recent seasons, especially with this group. And Chase Brown, these guys were fantastic last night. That was about as good an offensive game as you're going to get from the Bengals, and you lost against a team that I don't think is that explosive. There's more explosive teams on the schedule moving forward. That's going to be the concern, and that's not a good defense they played. What happens when the Steelers give the Bengals a little resistance? What happens when, assuming that the Browns defense returns, gives the Bengals a little resistance? What happens when these better defenses, the Ravens in a couple weeks, when they force the Bengals to punt and you lose out on scoring a point on a possession? How crucial is that going to be in a game where you don't have any faith in your offense to stop a Lamar? You will stop Deshaun. To stop a Lamar, to stop these quarterbacks that are going to put points up on the board against this bad defense. So I wanted to touch on that. I'm not blaming Joe Burrow by any means, but I think from the perception of Joe Burrow will be blamed. The offense will be blamed. Fair or foul, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, I don't want to really freak out about the offense at all. I think 33 points in an NFL game is a pretty great point to be.
What was the stat you read? Didn't you just every other team who did what the Bengals did offensively last night, nobody's ever lost a game like that.
But he lost.
Right.
But he lost. That's how it's going to be perceived.
I'm aware of that, but it's like that's up until now, 100 years of football, that has been perfect. What you saw last night was perfect. Now we know that a missed 48-yard field goal, and 2 field goal attempts inside the red zone. Obviously, you have to score touchdowns on every single drive you play. But up until last night, that game has never been lost by an offensive team ever. So I'd argue it's as close to perfect as one can play. Now, obviously, Jaden Daniels, again, he looked like the greatest athlete to ever walk the earth, and they played better. But at the end of I just don't know how I even consider talking about the offense. I got some defensive stats real quick before we get back to the offense.
I want to say something about the offense because I am
ahead.
worried about a part of this offense. I think the red zone offense has been terrible so far this year. We're right in the middle of the league, 50% touchdown percentage so far this year. It's been a really big problem. And when the defense is this bad, you have to capitalize. You can't leave 4 points on the board. Those third down plays are 4-point plays, and we're leaving touchdowns on the board and settling for field goals like average teams in the league. We're ranked 15th in the league, and when you want to win a Super Bowl and you know the defense is going to be a problem, you have to capitalize in the red zone, and the Bengals haven't done so. Last year, they were much better. They were closer to 65%, which is top 10 in the league. They were 9th in the league last year. This year at 15%, 50%, 15th in the league, just an unacceptable stat. You have to be better in the red zone.
When you're 0-3, you don't get absolved from getting critique and blame. It doesn't matter if they put up 30 points.
Yes.
They had opportunities in the red zone, they didn't convert. 50% is just not going to get it done. That's as simple as that. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's just the truth. And I love where this defense or where this offense is going. They're 4th in points in drive. They're 2nd in percentage of success rate. 20th in explosive. That could be better. EPA per play, they're 4th. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more except for just a little bit more efficient in the red zone. But those are concerns that moving forward that you have to address now, because if you want to be successful this year, you're going to have to be damn near perfect on offense.
And it's put Joe Burrow in the offense in that spot where he has no wiggle room. There's no margin for error. So I want to be clear. I am not blaming Joe Burrow, and I'm not blaming Joe Burrow for losses moving forward, but he will be blamed because he is going to be in so many positions where it's going to be up to him to close out a game with the game-winning drive. Fair or not? I've said that already. I'm not going to go into that again, but I think people can understand that. I see people have a problem with it in the chat. Shocker. That's fine. Everyone has their opinion on this. But I will say, If the Kansas City Chiefs were 0-3 with this exact roster and this exact problem, you guys would not be giving Patrick Mahomes the benefit of the doubt. And I'm not asking you to not give Joe Burrow the benefit of the doubt, but don't act like it's that crazy, because you guys would be saying the same crazy thing that I am, that you think is crazy, about any other team in the NFL. You don't give Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen passes anywhere else, but you want everyone to give Joe Burrow a pass. That at the end of the day, it's a results-driven business like most. And they're 0-3, and that's a problem. I don't know how much longer this problem will consist. So that's where we're going to turn the attention towards now, is where does this team go from here? Because I thought the Patriots was a gimme. I thought Washington would be a gimme. I know you were worried about it yesterday, but at least coming in, we looked at this Carolina game, gimme. I mean, we saw 3 gimmies in the first month.
Gimme with Bryce Young.
I don't know what to make of the Red Rocket-led, Carolina Panthers at this point.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't know? What part of last night makes you think Andy Dalton's going to throw for less than 500 yards?
Yeah, do you have
That's what
that
I'm
stat?
We're going to
saying.
get boat raced.
Jacob, tell him the stat. Tell him the stat with the Panthers.
A lot of
offensive
stats.
line.
I love it.
Yeah, the Panthers.
Oh, no.
So
What?
our defensive pass rush is so phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
We know how great we are at getting pressure.
Basically cost us the game.
Right, yeah, the worst thing we do. The Panthers' offensive line, second best pass block win rate of any offensive line in the entire league. So Andy Dalton's going to be chilling back there, just ripping that thing, frozen ropes.
Don't put any pressure
Remember
on
when
him.
Zach Taylor benched Andy Dalton on his birthday?
I do remember.
Andy's going to get Zach Taylor a new house in a new city. Karma.
I got another defensive stat here. This is the 8th time since Lou Anarumo has been the Bengals' defensive coordinator where the defense forced 1 or less punts in a game. That's the 8th time. The Bengals are 2-6 in those games. There have been 23 games where Anarumo's defense has forced 2 or less punts, 5-18 in those games. Shout out to Goodberry.
Sounds like our offense hasn't really picked up the slack.
Sounds like Lou Anarumo might be riding off of one playoff run with a great 5 games from Jesse Bates.
Yeah, I think that if you want to criticize Burrow, and again, I'm not saying you can't criticize the guy, but I don't know how you look at the last 2 games and say Burrow is out of all the, like, if you ranked the problems on the Bengals, Burrow's not a top 20 problem. I don't think he
You're
is.
definitely not wrong, but when the top 11 problems are the 11 players on defense,
Correct.
you can't.
Correct.
Like, you just kind of say the defense and then move down the list.
Correct.
So you get to 20.
I guess that's fair. But I'm saying, like, the Patriots game, nobody was in here saying Joe Burrow played good. Nobody was saying they were confident in Joe Burrow after that game.
We had a whole segment on his wrist.
He looked terrible. We all said that. So I think I don't think anybody's not criticizing Joe Burrow. I just think it's time to criticize Joe Burrow when it's time to criticize him, when he has a bad game.
It's a win-loss business, though.
Huh?
It's a win-loss
It
business.
is a win-loss business, and that brings me to my next point is how many losses is this going to continue for? We're 0-3. The Bengals are 0-3 now. You have the Panthers on deck, then the Ravens, and then the Giants. This was the easiest schedule I've ever seen. The first 6 games were the easiest schedule. You have 2 good teams and 4 atrocious teams. I know the Commanders, they have a winning record now, right? Yeah. So the Commanders, I guess, whatever. You want to say they're not terrible? They're terrible.
When we play the Giants in 2 weeks, the Giants didn't allow the Commanders to score a single touchdown and would have won that game if they had a kicker. So I'm not exactly thrilled for that primetime matchup.
Yeah, here's the issue. I'm not going to blame Zach Taylor yet. But if we get to a point where you're 0-6 with a healthy Joe Burrow, what happens then?
Ooh, this is where I'm chiming in loud. You can't do that. You can't blame Zach Taylor. If the whole thing is the offense has been fantastic and we give Joe Burrow a pass because of how bad the defense is, I've heard so much. I've seen the chat and everything, and this morning coming in, social media, everyone's piling on my guy Zach Taylor. I like Zach Taylor. I don't think he's top 5, but I definitely don't think he's even close to being the problem right now. You can question.
I just want to know if the offense has looked good or not.
Yeah, and the offense has looked good the last 2 weeks.
I think so.
I don't think he should be brought up at all. Anarumo should be on the hot seat at this point, a guy that everyone said 2 years ago, man, we're going to lose him as a head coach around the league.
And so
No
should
one's
Duke
touching him.
Tobin.
What's
Yeah,
that?
Duke
And
Tobin.
So
Sure.
should Duke Tobin.
Duke Tobin was probably the bigger of the
The 2
issues.
people
I didn't
that
mean
should
to
be
yell
getting
at
the
you.
most heat is
I like when you yell at me. Gets me going a little bit.
the defensive coordinator's been terrible. Lou's been terrible. He should be getting most of the flack. A lot of it's going to Zach Taylor, and when you're the head coach, we know that's how it happens. It happened with the Reds this whole season. The blame gets put on the head coach when things don't go well, but Zach Taylor's in charge of this offense, and the offense has looked good. He called a great game against Kansas City for about 90% of the game, and then I think he called a pretty good game last night. The game was really good. We ran the ball really well. We ran the ball over 20 times, which we rarely do.
Looked phenomenal.
Run game was great. The pass game was great. I don't think Zach Taylor's getting He's getting too much blame right now, but also that's what you do. Well, that's what happens when you start slow every single year. But I don't think Duke Tobin's getting enough blame. The roster construction here is a major issue.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what got us to a Super Bowl. It was spending a lot of money on defense and hitting in the draft offensively with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. It just brought us to a whole nother level, right? You look at what we've done since 2020 on defense. Not a single one of those guys are at the caliber of the Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase level of type players. The only one that might be close is Cam Taylor-Britt, but he seems to give up a giant touchdown now every game. That's been pretty consistent. I guess we can maybe hold out hope for Myles Murphy. That's the only hope that this team has at this point, is Myles Murphy just blooming into a top 10, 25 pass rusher. And even that, I don't think will fix a lot of mistakes that happened in the secondary, because there was a lot of them. And it just feels like you look at what they've done, like you said, from a roster construction point, and you guys are going to hate me for this, and you're going to kill me for this, but I'm going to bring it up again because now we're 2 years into this post-Jesse Bates era. We're a year removed now from DJ Reader.
It's Jesse Bates time.
And just look where we're at now. You want to complain about defensive line and giving up a bunch of yards weeks 1 and 2. Well, DJ Reader's out there balling in Detroit.
DJ Reader's played one game and has two tackles.
You look at Jesse Bates. He gets a game-winning interception in Atlanta. Like, when do we start saying, like, we made mistakes with trying to replace those guys with 2 medium-tier players?
That's where we made the mistake, not letting them walk. That's the thing.
Because that's what the Chiefs are doing. They're
right,
letting good guys
and that's
go,
what I was going to
but they're
go
replacing
into.
them.
You have to compare
that's-
ourselves to the Chiefs at this point,
But
because
that's
that's
what
the
I'm
barometer
saying.
for competition.
What were your other options, though? Is either re-sign him or go get a guy of similar caliber.
No.
And they didn't do that.
You draft better.
Well,
that's
then,
what you do.
Exactly, but they didn't do that. They didn't
Right,
do.
and that's-
They didn't do a good enough, sufficient job at that either.
But letting them walk is a great decision. Letting Jesse Bates walk was a phenomenal decision. You have to draft better to fix it. The Chiefs have been able to let people walk time and time again and fill those holes because they draft elite prospects. The Bengals continue to sit there in the mid-rounds and draft mid-level or poor prospects and ask that they take some massive step that we've never seen in college. These teams that rebuild on the fly and stay competitive while they let top talent walk, it's because they infuse their roster with young guys that are incredibly skilled and have great college tape. The Bengals don't do that. The Bengals take big swings on guys with upside, and it hasn't worked out. Joseph Osai, they took Joseph Osai, and we were all super excited about him, thought, oh, this is a first-round pick that fell. Maybe he fell because he's not that good of a prospect. The Chiefs sit there and they attack every guy that's a dominant prospect late in the draft, and they've been able to find core pieces of their defense by doing so. That's the issue with this team. You can't pay everybody. You just have to be smart with how you draft, and the Bengals are terrible at it.
All right, we are off and rolling here off the bench. Sorry, I was reading something, got distracted. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy
Please
Farmers.
stay on task.
What's that?
Please stay on task.
Yeah,
It's a big day for you.
Focus. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, and Jacob Tissett. Full reaction to not just last night's game, but just the state of the Cincinnati Bengals and where do they go from here. Blaming the defense, roster construction, all of those things are fair game, all on the table. But the problem is all the things we're complaining about, the defense being historically bad, where's the quick fix? The roster construction, there's not a quick fix. Oh, the offense, they have room for improvement. I mean, do they? I mean, that offense has been great, right? Like, where do they go from here? We'll pick up with that. Also, little Bengals buy or sell coming up around the corner, NFL power rankings and more. We might be on this for a while. Did you know David Bell got fired? We'll be right back. More Off the Bench next. My boy.
Craig.
All right, and we are off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Craig the Wrench Sandlin says, didn't know you were capable of reading off your phone. If it isn't printed out, can you read it, Kenner? I got these old 34-year-old eyes, man. I just need to hold it close. And my phone's all, is what it is. But, It's Kenner and Kev show. It's not the Kenner and Kev show.
You could have rolled with that, though. You could have just said it's Kinner.
It's Kenner. Boo. By the way, I feel like I've been pretty mature. You all ripped my team for losing and getting embarrassed by an NFC least team, and Well, the thing is, I actually think I like the team you guys lost to. I think they're actually pretty good. I don't know if they're as good as they look.
So
last
if
night,
I
but-
were you,
I'm staying out of this, though. Yeah.
I would have started the show by saying the team that beat us lost to this team.
Yeah. So there we go. What's that property?
So I
that,
think you're good.
Yeah, I think you're fine.
Yeah. I think this has been one of the wildest starts to an NFL season. Like I was, so we have the power rankings coming up that we'll get to later. It's actually very difficult. I can't tell who's good and who's not. There are teams.
I don't know that there's
0-3.
10 good teams in the NFL.
It's a very weird thing. The Texans, who I was very high on, like coming off their worst performance, that was kind of wild. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen when it's all said and done. But what's that?
Well, I was just going to say, I was watching the game last night, and there was a little bit of hope after halftime, or right before the half, I guess I should say.
Well, yeah, because right after the halftime, Austin Eckler returned that kick.
Yeah, I made a very clear distinction there. I thought there was going to be some hope.
I thought so too.
I thought the Bengals were going to get one stop right out of the break, go down and score, and everything was going to be great. It just didn't go that way. And I wish it would go that way once.
Go that way once. Where?
I just want the Bengals defense to get one stop.
Just one.
What can I do to help the Bengals defense get one stop?
I will do it.
Like what do
I will do it.
What do we have to do?
Well, the big question I have is like, at what point did they realize this defense is bad?
I
think they just realized.
I think they realized.
I remember you remember during preseason. I hate preseason, but man, look at the second string defense slowing down like the Bears starters. Remember, they're going up against starters of the Colts, starters of the Bears, and the second string is doing their thing. Imagine how good the first string is. Like that. We're a long way away from that. During camp, all the talk was about Jamar and the contract. It was all about Joe Burrow and the wrist, and T. Higgins balling out, having the best camp of his career. The defense at no point, and this is why like some of the national media stuff that was coming out saying they're not hearing good things about what's going on at camp. But all the local media, great, everything's fine. That's why I never know who to believe and who to trust. Are you trying to keep your credential? And that's why you're just going to say everything's great because national media don't care. Our guy, Adam Schefter, he don't get anything out of this guy, out of this team anyways. I just want to know, like, for all these football evaluators, you're watching this team in camp every day. You're watching this team in practice and preseason games and joint practices. Like, this is historically bad. There had to have been some red flags, right? There had to have been some concern. Not that they're going to come out and tell us, but, like, I just wonder if they're as shocked as what we all are because that's the thing I'm trying to figure out. When did the Bengals know that, oh, crap, we screwed up with how we put this thing together?
How long has Sam Hubbard been bad?
A while.
Am I allowed to ask that?
It was probably started last season. He got hurt midway through the season after having what would have been his best season yet, and then just really.
Because what's his job?
So
what does he do?
So if you look up his job description, it's rushing the passer, getting pressure.
That's what I thought it was.
On average, Jaden Daniels dropbacks last night when Jaden Daniels was holding the ball for over 3 seconds per pass, which in the NFL is a long time. You should be able to get home on that. Sam Hubbard was an average of 6 yards away from Jaden Daniels when he released the football. Are you even trying?
6 yards seems pretty far away.
That is an encouraging stat to me, though. And you know why?
Why?
The level Myles Murphy has to play at to raise this pass rush is the worst in the league.
Yeah.
If he's the worst starting pass rusher in the league, he's way better than Sam Hubbard.
Yeah, Hubbard is what, 127 or 128?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, 127 out of 128 D lineman charted by Next Gen Stats.
And here's a question, and I don't want to play the hypothetical game, but nonetheless I'm going to do so. What happens if Trey Hendrickson were to go down, like tomorrow?
I don't want to be the guy that wants to talk about Trey Hendrickson because he is the whole thing with his defense.
What would happen?
He didn't win enough. He did not win enough last night. He had one-on-one opportunities, and he did not win enough last night. We're going to put a lot of pressure on him, and I know he has a lot of pressure. He's the only rusher on this defense, and I get that. But he has to be better. If he's going to be this guy, he needs to win more one-on-one rushes, and he didn't do it last night. He got a good sack, and it was great, but I think if he's going to be the number one guy, he's got to be a little bit better. But it's so hard to ask him to be better when there's nobody else giving anything.
Yeah.
I agree. I'm with you guys. I do think I know we've been super critical of this defense. I do want to reiterate, I do think that Jaden Daniels could potentially be a dude.
Yeah.
That's the only thing in the back of my mind that's like holding me back a little bit from just being completely out, especially with all the injuries and with Myles Murphy. We've yet to see what this is at full strength, right? I think what we hope for the future is Hendrickson, Hill, Rankins, Murphy. That is your pass rush. What we have out there right now is a practice squad defensive line.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing that's like in the back of my mind that I have somewhat hope for. But it's just it's hard to believe that we're at this point, because you know that you need more than just 2 starting defensive pass rushers. You know you need that. You should have been trying to add more depth there. You should have been trying to go get more pass rush. Osai is clearly a failed experiment.
Yeah.
Hubbard is too old and too decrepit now to continue being your starting edge rusher. And there just wasn't a sufficient enough answer for these deficiencies that we have. And it's now come to bite us in the butt. And now we go to Carolina, like we said already, who has the second best pass block win rate, and Andy Dalton, who thrives when he's protected, with a offense that looked really, really good against the Raiders, who I'd like to point out, I said they don't got no slouches in Las Vegas. I was getting real fired up on Tom's show. They have Max Crosby and Christian Wilkins.
Oh, yeah.
Like they have some dudes on that defensive line that can get after you, and they did nothing to Andy Dalton. So can't imagine what that's going to be like in a week from now.
We can scroll through the league and look at rosters and look at depth charts and say, hey, let's trade for this guy. Let's make the defense better with this piece. And those pieces are maybe out there. Maybe you can make those moves. The Bengals don't, though.
Yeah.
The Bengals don't make in-season moves. So to act like we can fix this defense when there's 6, 7, 8 major holes is just, it's crazy to expect. And I really do think that at this point, the only way this defense can even be average is for guys to take crazy, massive, unexpected steps. And those guys are Dax Hill, Miles Murphy. Sheldon Rankins needs to be a dominant pass rusher when he gets back healthy. I mean, there's so many pieces around this team that have to be so much better than they are right now that I just don't see it happening anytime soon.
All right, this is Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Bengals have the Panthers coming up this Sunday, 1 o'clock, the kickoff. The Bengals, 5-point favorite as we currently sit here right now. We'll see what ends up happening as they take on the.
Our boss is telling us to keep our chins up.
Yeah, he texted me last night. He was like, "You all right?" It's like, not really.
I listen. Craig says, "What's next to Elliott? This thing? You know about this? This is for cables. So you put the cable in there, and it keeps it nice and tight in there. So you do that, and it's boom. That's it, Craig." My biggest fear right now is, and I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, I can't talk about the draft in September.
Oh, I can. I did a mock
I
draft
can't.
last
Yeah,
night.
you wanted it. You might be getting what you asked for.
I can't do it. I can't. I refuse to do it.
I did a mock draft last night at 1:30 in the morning. Travis Hunter's going to be
Travis Hunter. I'll be
T's
pissed.
replacement and number 1 corner, Travis Hunter.
I can't. I can't.
Golly, I would love that.
Does Travis Hunter play offense or defense?
Well, he's going to play both. 'cause we
He
don't
said
let
he's going to
T-Wall.
play both. He's already telling the coach what he's going to do before he even gets there.
I just
Or we draft another Michigan
I
player.
refuse to do it.
Brandon
so,
Graham.
So here's how I'm going to operate. I'm going to say the Bengals are 0-0, and they just have to have a better record. They got to win 11 games this year.
they just got to score more points than their opponent.
That's
and they're
right.
Golden.
That's all it
but,
is.
But how many points is that? Is that
easy
50?
45.
Like, you have to score 45 points a week in the NFL to be confident now.
The worst part is I know the Bengals aren't the worst team in the NFL. I know they're not. The offense is far too good for them to be the worst in the league. It's just a fact. They're going to win football games. I don't know when. Hopefully it's soon. They're going to win football games. My fear.
Are they going to win half of their football games?
Maybe. That's my fear. My fear is that the Bengals win 8 football games. So that means you get a bad draft pick and you've failed the season. If you fail the season but get a good draft pick, I can be like, you know what? That's fine. It wasn't our year. Next year's our year. But if we win 8 games, 7 games, 9 games, and don't make the playoffs, I don't know what we have because we've accomplished nothing.
What makes you think it matters where we pick, that this front office is going to get it right?
They got Burrow right?
Kind of. I mean,
They got Burrow right.
I think
It counts.
I think anyone could have got Burrow right.
Yeah, but it counts.
You hit on Burrow, Chase.
There was
and
a lot of
Higgins,
there was a
the
lot of
three guys that
there was a
fall
lot
into
of
your
stress
lap.
there was a lot of stress during that pick. It was during COVID. Nobody was at home. Nobody was at the draft parties.
The only decision you had to make in the first round here that was like a legitimate early round decision was Chase or Sewell, and you were choosing between 2 all-pro players.
Did they make the right call? My question is,
God, the O-line. Now let's do that for a second. The O-line has been unbelievable.
O-line's been great.
And we don't have a defense that gives us a chance to protect
That has
leads,
been
and we
good.
finally have an O-line. And Trent Brown got hurt last night, looked ugly. That looked not good.
Didn't look very good.
Knee injury.
He didn't even the ground buckled his knee.
He jumped back to plant both of his legs and completely gave out and face planted into the ground. His knee is probably done for. But we knew that was a possibility. And when Mims came in, boy, that offense looked good. So
Mims looked great
Mims
outside
is
of the
awesome.
one horrible sack, but
His first one.
Mims looked very good.
he's going to be a great player. The offense is in a good spot, which is what makes this defense. Reed texted last night right after the game and said, "Why does this feel so much worse than when we're just bad across the board?" And it's because I think we see an offense that isn't replicated by many teams across the league. Like, the offense is good. 30 points is very, very good, no matter who you play.
It's insane.
And it doesn't matter.
It's 100. They're 112-0.
Yeah.
I was going to save this for later in the week, but I'm going to just bring it up now because it feeds off of that. The offense is so dang good. The defense has so many deficiencies. How do you fix it? Tom asked a very important question to Casey.
Yeah.
And I know I could hear the pain in your voice because you knew it was a good question, and it does make you think. So we're going to step away for a few moments, and we're going to talk about that because Tom asked Casey earlier, does it make you wonder if the front office might have a change in thought and direction of how they plan to do contracts moving forward when you are top 5 in spending offensively, 22nd in spending defensively, and there's really not a whole lot of young prospects that seem to be promising pieces moving forward, and you're putting all, and by the way, you're top 5 in spending, and you haven't paid T, you haven't paid Jamar, you've only paid your quarterback. The offensive line, they have a top 10 spend in offensive line too, which is important. But it was a valid question, something to think about. We'll talk about that when we come back. We got buy or sell around the corner, more off the bench when we come back. And we are back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett. Tom Brenneman on Dialed In earlier this morning. I don't even know what time it is. Asked Casey
It's
about the
10:53
question.
a.m. in the Eastern Standard Quadrant of the United States.
And nothing matters.
Thank you,
There's no
Siri.
joy in the world.
Thank you. But no, so the Cincinnati Bengals, I keep hearing people say, well, you get what you pay for, and they are definitely getting what they pay for. They are getting elite offensive production and not a whole lot of defensive production. They are top 5 in spending in cash flow in their offense, and they're 22nd in the money that they've invested into the defensive side of the ball. Now, before people criticize that, I'm not going to criticize that. The model around the NFL for a lot of teams who are successful is they have, especially, drafting key pieces on your defense and developing them and having depth there has been key. But when you don't draft well and you don't have depth and you don't have a lot of pieces, it becomes very difficult at that point. So as I say this, the defense is so bad, historically bad, and there's not a lot of young prospects. You don't know what the defense of the future looks like. You know what your offensive future looks like, but you're top 5 in spending on your offense, and you've only paid your quarterback and you have money invested in the offensive line. You're not going to invest a lot of money into the run game, and of course, look how good the run game is. That's why I always say, people who bail on their top running backs, I get that. You don't want to financially prioritize that position. You would probably love to have kept Joe Mixon. I'm sure the Titans would have loved to kept Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure the Panthers would have loved to kept Christian McCaffrey. But the bottom line is, at the end of the day, you don't invest into those positions financially because it's just the proof is out there. You can replace that. But I bring this up because if you're top 5 in spending offensively and you're not keeping T and you haven't paid Jamar yet, and your offensive line you've invested in, you have the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, that means you got to put even more money into the offense once Jamar gets paid, and the defense. That spend's going to go down because of the money that they have to reallocate from the defense to the offense. I don't know if this is going to change the direction of the front office as far as what they plan to do with Jamar Chase. I think he's going to be a Bengal. I don't think that's going to change. But if you don't think it scares the hell out of that front office right now to pump in the highest paid wide receiver contract in NFL history while you have the worst defense in the NFL, what do you do at that point? You're going to pay him, but I don't think it's as easy a decision as what everyone thinks that it is. And I do wonder if last year, if the defense was better and Joe Burrow is healthy, is T. Higgins paid by now? I think that if they've proven that they could have drafted some better pieces on defense and that the future looked a little brighter with the younger defense, maybe they do pay T. But I wonder if some of the hesitancy to dive into the more offensive spending has to do with how bad they are defensively.
I think that's a completely fair worry. I think that's definitely something the front office has to think about because this defensive structure that we're running so far is not sustainable, and we've seen it time and time again that it's just not good enough. They took a massive step in the Super Bowl year and in the playoffs. They were not a good defense that season, and it's remembered differently because they were amazing in the playoffs, and that's great, and we need that, and that's what got us to a Super Bowl. But to act like this defense has been that much better than it is right now for a while is wrong. You're talking yourself into something that's just not true. This defense has been bad for a while, and the Bengals need to change their philosophy on it. But I don't think that necessarily comes with paying guys. I just said how important it is to draft, and I think that's what it is. I think it's much harder to find a franchise quarterback. It's much harder to find a number one wide receiver than it is to find some rotational guys on defense. You just have to hit in the draft, and I'm not diminishing it by saying that's super easy to do, but I certainly think it's easier than the Bengals have made it look. I don't think it's that hard to look at tape and find guys that are good college players that are going to translate to the NFL and work in your system, because every other team does it in the league that's competitive for a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You're able to replace guys with ease, and the Bengals have not been able to do it in a long time. And it's not even just this Joe Burrow era. Every star player we've let walk, we haven't been able to replace. I mean, what are we going on a decade now trying to replace Andrew Whitworth at right tackle?
Yeah.
Hopefully it's Amarius Mims. That's over 10 years after he left. Like, the Bengals just never seem to have a plan, and we're seeing it again with the defense. I personally, I don't think Jamar Chase should have left Paycor last night without a contract. If you saw anything, you saw how important he is, and if you saw how good he played last night, then maybe T. Higgins shouldn't have left Paycor without a contract either, because you need two guys to get this offense to roll completely, and if the offense isn't this good, then what is this team? Because if the offense becomes league average or close to it at any point, holy cow.
See, I don't want to pay
This is a
Jamar unless
bad
you have
football
T.
team.
I don't want to pay Jamar unless you have T. Because last night, I talked all that smack about Jamar yesterday, right? He goes out and balls out.
Yeah.
But why? The defensive attention changed towards him because T's out there. He gets that same defensive attention that Justin and all the other guys, Justin Jefferson, the other guys do, but those guys know how to beat that. He can't beat that double team half the time. He got a guy that freaking dominated last night.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's because the defense have shifted. If he is that dependent on T. Higgins, then the front office needs to keep T with Jamar, or Jamar needs to prove, and again, you can't do it the rest of the year because you hope T's healthy enough, but like, Jamar Chase is not as dominant a receiver without T. Higgins as what some of the other elite ones in the league are without a dominant number two.
And we
That's
see
my
people
frustration.
and we see people say, "Oh, the Bengals can just draft another dominant wide receiver in round 1 or round 2." Well, we're sitting here 3 weeks into the season talking about how massive the talent deficiencies are on defense, and we're not going to use premium draft picks on that side of the ball. We cannot just draft another receiver in the first round. We need pieces on defense. We do not have the talent on that side of the ball. And we're not really that close to it.
No.
We should use the first 3 rounds next year on defense.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason to draft offense. If you're going to pay Jamar Chase $40 million, he needs to be able to win without T. Higgins. It's just that's just what it is. Because you're not going to be able to have that much speed and dominance on the outside all the time. It's just not feasible.
You can't pay everybody. You can't pay T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. Some teams could be able to do that. The Bengals are unable to do that. Mike Brown is, I believe, the poorest owner in the NFL.
The Packers.
The Packers, I guess, technically.
The people.
All 100 of them.
The
yeah.
people of Green
1,000
Bay
of
are
them.
poorer than Mike Brown, but that's it.
Trace Fowler and the rest of the Packers fan base.
Yeah, Eric All, wide receiver too.
But you can't pay them all, and that's abundantly clear. And if you can't pay them all, and this season's not going where we thought it would be going, do you consider trading T. Higgins? Do you consider it? Are we gonna sit right now and say that it wouldn't help the team? Because if it's gonna take legitimate miracles, the offense has to score. If our punter steps onto the field one time, we lose games. If that's what it's going to take to win games this year, is have perfection every single drive offensively, I don't know how you can sit here and say the T. Higgins being here right now is worth it, because it seems like we're just wasting everything, and it sucks. I wish the Jamar Chase thing wouldn't have happened like it did, because that's a talking point, and it'll continue to be a talking point. I wish you didn't lose to the Patriots week 1 at home. You lose the Patriots and the Commanders in the first 3 weeks at home. At home. So I don't know. I don't know where the season goes from here. I just know you can't. It's not realistic to pay T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. One of them's going to walk, and if the season's going to end 8-9, I would rather trade T. Higgins than get nothing for him.
And at this point, they need those draft picks at
Yeah.
that point. Like, that's going to be the scary thing too. If you're out of it, dangle T out there, see what happens. I don't know.
You can double tag as well, 120% of the tag him again this offseason and trade him in the offseason, which is kind of what I've been hoping for and asking them to do for a while now. But yeah, I think if you let T walk for free with the deficiencies on this roster, that would be even worse than what happened with Jesse Bates.
Yeah.
For me, it just kind of depends on how the rest of the season kind of unfolds at the moment. If they are sitting at the trade deadline 2-6 or worse, I feel like trading T is probably the smart move, right? You're probably out of it for the year, considering how tough the back part of our schedule is. I think, it's so hard to think that getting more draft capital is going to solve anything, because we've already been through this, or at least I went through this list on Dialed In with Tom. There's not very many guys that we've hit on in the draft, like we've already mentioned over and over and over again. When we've spent a lot of draft capital on defensive players, we've spent 2 first-round picks on defense since 2020, 3 second-round picks since 2020, 6 guys in third round since 2020. Like we spent a lot of capital on defense. It's not like we haven't. And I just don't feel like throwing more draft capital into it is going to solve anything. But I will say this: it does seem like we do figure out guys offensively, weapons. And if you look at teams like the Chiefs, they seem to be able to figure out guys in the 3rd round, 7th round that end up making special players. I mean, Tyreek Hill's a 5th round pick. Travis Kelce, a 3rd round pick. Rashee Rice, I think, is a 3rd round pick, right? A 2nd, somewhere around there. So, I mean, I just feel like this team, when we're talking about trading T. Higgins, it's not going to help solve the defense. But it does give you more ammo and opportunities to maybe try to help replace him, right? Like that's how I would look at that. That way you're not spending your 1st round pick on receiver, because I'm with Jacob. You can't spend on offense this year unless you're playing completely switches, right? And it's you pay Joe, you pay the offensive line, and now everything else goes in the defense. And
Josh Allen's not he's putting the Bengals in a spot where look what he's doing.
I know. That's the crazy.
Right.
Look at Josh Allen right now. That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Look who he's throwing to.
Yeah.
Look who Josh
He's
Allen.
an MVP candidate a month in.
Look who plays defense for the Bills, and then look at Josh Allen's offense. Look at his number
Trevor
one.
Lawrence threw an interception to a man that died last night.
First player ever, I think. Josh Allen doesn't have a number 1 wide receiver. And to be quite honest, he doesn't really have a number 2 wide receiver. He is a pretty good tight end. That's who Josh Allen has to throw to. And Josh Allen scored how many points last night? 47?
Yeah.
They scored 47?
Not to mention
on the
cap
Jaguars, who are terrible, mind you. Trevor Lawrence is terrible, and the Jaguars are terrible.
Yeah, and we're saying we need T to get back to open up the offense to score. Like, I get why other fan bases are mocking that.
You shouldn't need T. Higgins to get Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase's talent is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL. If you can't figure out a way to get Jamar Chase open somewhere, there is something wrong with you.
Yeah.
Something very, very, very wrong.
Not to mention, they're still eating the salary cap hit from Von Miller. Like they are so.
He's playing pretty well, though.
They should not be doing what they're doing right now. Let's just be very clear with the deficiencies that they have in terms of roster management and construction, where they had to let go all their all-pro secondary men, and the fact that Von Miller never panned out. They should not be as good as they are on defense. But yet here we are, 2024. They're balling out. Josh Allen balling out with just James Cook. You traded Stephon Diggs away, who really unlocked that offense a couple years ago. Now he just doesn't need him. It's so exhausting talking about the Bengals, because it feels like we compare ourselves to all these other teams, and it's like, why can't we do what the Bills or the Chiefs do? Why is it so hard for the Bengals to do that? Why do we need a star-studded lineup to be able to move the ball or to be able to stop the ball, for that matter?
That's the fairest criticism to Zach Taylor that I could get on board with. I'm a Zach Taylor guy, and I get annoyed when everyone blames him when they struggle, even though they're playing very well right now. But that's the only fair criticism of him that I think I could lean towards a lot and say, man, look at what the Bills are doing. They don't have your help. And I know people give a lot of credit to Travis Kelce, as you should, right? And Rashee Rice has turned into a star. But it doesn't change the fact that it sounds like if the Bengals only had an elite tight end and no wide receivers like Patrick did for a few years, it sounds like they wouldn't get anything done based on the way things are going in Cincinnati right now, where you need those two. So
the scheme is so
that's
bad.
fair. That's
Zach,
a fair one, yeah.
I starting 0-6 is unacceptable. I'm not going to say they're going to start 0-6, but I'm just saying, hypothetically, because I don't think you can rule it out, unfortunately, at this point. If you start 0-6 with this schedule, I don't understand how nobody's on the hot seat. I don't understand how you get – Joe Burrow is completely healthy, and this is what's going on here. There's only so many times you can start a season 0-2, 0-3. 0-2, I guess, I should say. You can't start 0-2 every single year. You can't do and pray for 20-game winning streaks. That's not how the sport works. Super Bowl champions don't start 0-2 every single year and pray for 12-game winning streaks. I know we like to make the bit here that the beginning of the season doesn't matter because the end of the season is all that matters. Once you catch fire. But eventually it does.
This is not a slow start, though. I see a lot of people saying it's a slow. This is not a slow start. This is roster construction problems, talent deficiency problems. This is not a team that's not ready to play.
Yeah,
this
Joe
is a
Burrow
team
arrived
that is
week 2. That's not a slow start.
right. This is an NFL team without NFL talent right now on defense. That's what we're seeing. I don't put this in the same category even remotely as the last few years when it comes to a slow start because you're playing a guy that got here on Wednesday and a guy you called up from the practice squad on the defensive line. I'm not blaming injuries because the defense was a joke when we were healthy. But we act like it was going to get better or at least be the same this week, and it wasn't. I think we need to talk more about Duke Tobin, and that's the thing that is somehow flying under the radar mostly today, and it's all going to Zach Taylor.
I mean, that's who I'm most upset with is Duke Tobin, because the biggest mistake they made, and I know people are going to kill me for this, was that they built a roster that was able to go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs.
Yes.
That was their biggest mistake. They didn't think about what the rest of the league was trending towards. And newsflash, the Chiefs, they're good enough and versatile enough to stay in the trends with the league. Like, they are able to run the ball. They have a good enough offensive line to run the ball. They have enough defensive players to be able to play that too high shell and the thing that they want banned in the NFL. They're able to do that. The Bengals, they are 4 or 5 years behind schedule at this point.
All right, off the bench presented by, is that 4? Is that 3 or 4?
That's 4. That's 4.
That's 4. All right, well, we're going to take a little bit of pause in the action because Casey has some housekeeping items. He has some ads that he has to do. We have to pay the bills around here. So we'll step away for a few moments, buy or sell NFL Power Rankings. We get to break down other NFL teams outside of just the Cincinnati Bengals coming up here in just a bit. So, and then we might sneak in some Elliot's headlines.
No, headlines are gone.
Headlines are gone. But you got, I like that laptop.
Well,
Did you get the laptop?
If you want me to tell you 4 scores from the MLB last night, I can do it. But it's just I don't care. The Reds are dead and the Bengals are dead, and I have nothing.
More off the bench.
Happy Tuesday.
Next.
It's just official.
Well, I have some great news to everyone in the chat.
I've never seen you guys.
Trent Brown out for the season. Yay. Who would have guessed that? Only lasted 2.5 games.
Mary Smims time, baby.
Yep, Mary Smims. I mean, that's what we wanted, was for him to get out there and get these opportunities, so might as well.
Mary Smims had to run on the field last night and help the training staff lift Trent Brown onto the cart because they couldn't do it themselves.
Yeah. Saw that.
Fun little nugget.
That was a fun nugget.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, Jacob.
You know what? He could have really used a lot of water.
Could use another patella tendon.
Yeah.
You know what? There's no patella
filtration.
tendons in there.
No, there's not. There's no rocks in it either.
That's right.
It's just water. If you look at the ingredients here, it says just water. Natural limestone filtration water at that. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. It is one of the best tasting waters. Actually, it is the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. Yeah, he could have really used that. Maybe stayed a little more hydrated. Wouldn't have fallen over the turf monster and tore his knee up. The Bengals report I guess is proudly sponsored
Yeah,
by
Bengals
Encore
Report.
Technologies. Encore, we deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world.
Wish
From
the Bengals
mobile
defense
computing
had a solution.
and desktop support to advanced data center solutions. They help businesses enhance efficiency and
Bengals didn't have any productivity last night.
no productivity.
None.
But,
But
Encore
Encore,
does.
but Encore does.
And where does
have
that begin,
productivity.
Casey?
Encore.tech. Your path to innovation begins there. Game Time. They're a great app. You get to see exactly where you're sitting at. Pricing's all up front. They've got game pick filters, helps you fluff out all the different tickets. So you can see exactly what you're looking for in terms of pricing, in terms of where you want to sit at. They got hot deals, super deals, which I'm sure there's probably some great deals for Bengals tickets because I don't think anybody wants to go see a Bengals game at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's
Cheaper ticket prices.
cheaper ticket
And the
prices.
cheapest on
Let's
Game Time.
look at FC Cincinnati. Let's see what they've done lately.
Well, they
Because you can buy some
you can
tickets
buy
to
some
FC
tickets
Cincinnati,
there.
right?
Yeah, you can. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's apparently game time.
Game time,
Bengals
game time,
missed
game
it.
time.
Bengals defense missed it, so
Bengals defense didn't know it was game time.
they didn't know. Not one bit.
I'm sad, guys.
I'm really upset.
Before we go back to the radio, can we just sulk for a second?
I want one season where my team from the beginning of the year is good, and then at the end of the year they're good, and then they win it all.
I
So
would
you
even
want, like-
prefer.
That's what I
if-
want. I just want it once.
Now hear this out. What if they're also good in the middle of the season?
No, I want that too.
I think if you're just good from start to finish, that'd be
Reed
really cool.
Reed told us we were going to have a boring season. Reed promised me we were going to have a boring season.
We might because
We
I'm
were
going
gonna-
to stop watching.
We were going to have a boring season. We were going to go through everything normal, and we weren't going to get excited because we're going to do everything the right way, and we were going to get it done. And now it's over.
I'm going to start doing streams with the TV off and just doing play-by-play as if we're going to win.
Yeah.
Because we're going to lose every game. So
Yeah, I mean,
we're going to get boat raced by the Panthers, right?
I don't
Yeah.
think
Dalton's
you can.
next revenge game.
If Dalton beats us, if Dalton hangs a 40 burger on us, I don't know how I can walk in here on Monday.
I'm taking because I can't justify betting on the Bengals at any point the rest of the season. So I'm
No,
just going to
there's-
take the over in every game.
If we're in
Has the
if-
odds came out yet? Have we
if-
looked at those?
No, can you give us a spread? I'll keep talking, but can you give us a spread for that?
We got to guess it.
It's opened up.
We got to
Bengals-
guess it.
Can we guess it? We gotta guess it. We gotta guess it. We gotta guess it. We gotta guess
Go
it.
ahead.
It's in Carolina.
Right.
But
and we're bad, but they're also bad.
So I hit a couple bets last night, and I knew Jamar Chase was going to have 2 touchdowns. I knew he was going to go over his yardage. So I bet a lot on Jamar Chase, and I won a lot of money. So I said, you know what, at halftime, I'm going all in on the Cincinnati Bengals money line. There was some value. There was a live boost. I got it to plus 200 at halftime. Put it all on the Bengals.
That went well.
We lost it.
Lost it
I
all.
believed in my team.
I believed in your team too, and it's lost me money.
Commanders were the right side. I think teams are now 14-2 when the spread is larger than 5.5.
This one won't be.
10 outright. This one will not be low. You can't. Vegas bookmakers can't possibly think that the Bengals are a good team. still.
Bengals 3.5.
I'm gonna say Bengals
Bengals 3.5.
2.5.
No, they're gonna give us a field goal.
2.5.
Come on.
2.5. Kenner, guess.
You said wait for what?
Bengals
Saturday or
at
Sunday?
Panthers.
Sunday, yeah. Bengals at
I'm saying
Panthers.
-3.5.
I'm gonna roll with the Panthers with Andy Dalton's offense right now. That sounds.
We're
crazy,
guessing the
but
spread.
We're guessing the
the
spread.
spread. But as far as the
What the
finish,
Vegas?
What the spread is.
What the Vegas odds are.
didn't we already talk about the spread? I just gave it a little bit ago.
For the Panthers game?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, we didn't hear it.
What-
didn't
what-
hear you.
Oh, so you guys weren't paying attention.
We're guessing it now.
You? Oh. Do you want it now?
Go ahead. Tell them what it is.
No, it's a 5-point line.
It's a 5-point line.
I swear I said
That's
that a little bit ago. My
insanity.
I'm
apologies.
out. I'll be taking
That-
I'll be taking the Carolina Football Panthers.
And those movements happened at 11:05 last night.
Oh, so right in the middle of that game, they're like, yeah, this team stinks.
Yeah, it hasn't adjusted since.
I'll be
Hasn't
taking the
adjusted
Carolina
since, but-
Football Panthers money line.
Of all the 0-3 teams right now, Tennessee, the Bengals. Who's the third one? I have that right in front of me. Actually, I don't know why I'm asking you guys right now. So the Jaguars, Bengals, Titans. Who's the worst 0-3 team of those?
There's not a single 0-3 team other than the Bengals that's elite on one side of the ball. So I'll still say the Bengals.
You're saying the Bengals are the best or the worst?
The best, because they're elite on offense, and none of those other teams are elite on any of the three sides of the ball.
Bengals.
But they also have the worst defense out of those three teams.
Bengals are the best, but the Jaguars are the worst team ever assembled. They're the Avengers of terrible players.
Where are we with the Trevor Lawrence? Because, see, if I would have ranked him, I would have put the Bengals because, yes, the dominant offensive side of the ball. I would have put the Jaguars second because you have Trevor Lawrence, and the Titans last because I'm not a fan of I thought they'd be better than what they were coming into the year. But Trevor Lawrence is bad.
I think the Titans' defense is going to win them some games. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is atrocious.
I don't know what's going on there. All of a sudden I saw that meme with – that smirk that Urban Meyer does, that kind of smile, whatever. And it was like, maybe it wasn't all Urban. It was Urban did a bad job. Urban did a bad job.
I'll hop on that. I'll join that take.
What is going on with this Jaguar team? Because I'm staying away from them on every bet. I'm not touching them.
They're bad.
Because any week they could pop off. But Trevor Lawrence, we talk a lot about bad contracts in the NFL. I'm a fan of a team that has a very, very bad QB contract, but the Jaguars might have put themselves in a box with this one. And we kind of questioned. I remember during Grip It and Rip It, that was one of our few shows that we had together where it was announced about Trevor Lawrence's contract.
Yeah.
We were kind of in between on the reaction to the announcement of the contract.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of quarterbacks that got extended this offseason that didn't make a lot of sense, and seems like our takes are vindicated more often than not on those.
You guys want to hear something? Go ahead, Casey.
So you're going to do the super chat?
No, I was going to do the Texans' schedule in 2018.
Go ahead. After that, I'm going to say the super chat.
Texans started 0-3 in 2018. They're the only team to make the playoffs with an 0-3 record. After they lost those first 3 games, they beat the Colts, then the Cowboys, then the Bills, then the Jaguars, then the Dolphins, then the Broncos, then the Commanders, then the Titans, then the Browns. So they just kept winning. So my question to you
were
guys:
those teams good back then?
I don't know.
think they were.
I don't have enough.
That's like Josh Allen's rookie year, and
I just don't know. But here's the thing: if they can do it, why can't the Bengals?
There is an extra playoff team, so a lot of those stats aren't right.
Well, I tried. Go ahead, Casey.
we have 2 super chats before we go back to Radio Land. $10 super chat from Mark Fetters. Jordan Battle? ? I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have given up a 3rd and 16, 20-yard reception to Zach Ertz.
There you go. Jordan Battle ranked 12th out of safeties last year in run defense grade. Geno Stone ranked last out of the 108 eligible safeties. Bengals, notably really good at defending the run so far, right? Wrong.
Ned Flanders with the $10 super chat. We all know what's happening here. David Bell's sloppy defense has spread across the entire city. The wreckage this man leaves behind has no limits. Fire him again or risk 0-6. Tough. Yeah, that's
the energy is so down today. Everyone is so sad.
Well, here's
so upset.
I have a little bit of a story to tell.
I like stories.
Story time with Casey.
Jacob
it.
does
I like just not doing a radio show today.
Are we back on radio?
No.
Is this
No,
radio?
No, this is not radio.
This is
not.
great.
No.
Story time with Casey. Let's hear it.
Yeah, I mean,
swear.
because we have some short segments, right? that
Yeah, we
have to
got
do.
like 2 12-minuters.
Yeah, we have to do a
Crazy
couple
story
short ones.
as
So
well. Bengals.
last night, as I'm watching the game and I'm watching that final play, the entire time, that entire game up to that point, I was thinking, man, Jacob does such a good job doing the live reaction show, because I certainly couldn't do it without being either super just angry or
Yeah, I
just
cussed twice on accident last
saying
night.
a couple cuss words, stuff like that. I don't think I have stringed together a couple of curse words or angry things that I said. I don't think I've ever put together such a long run-on sentence when Jaden Daniels threw that dime to Terry McLaurin in the back of the end zone. And I tuned in to Jacob, and Jacob's defeated. I'm like, it's a good thing I was not on this because not only did I string together something just very vulgar, I was just screaming my lungs out. I probably terrified my cats for the rest of their lives. They probably will never come near me ever again. My wife
I'm going to call you
immediately left
Springfield from now on. That's your new nickname.
Yeah, she left the room. She was just like so detested by my anger of this team. I get so bent out of shape with this team so quickly now. It's just unreal. I remember back in the day, I could handle losing to the Steelers pretty well. I don't know how I'm going to do this year. I think this year has like mentally just warped my brain. I'm a Cincy fan.
That's what you are. I'm a Reds fan. That's what I am. A Justin Fields-led Steelers will destroy me. Will destroy me.
I think I'm going to start rooting for him.
I've got some fun facts. Do you guys want some fun facts? I was looking up some fun facts on September 24th throughout history.
Is it fun facts for radio or fun facts for...
Sure, we can do it on the radio.
Okay.
5 seconds of silence.
Fun facts are on the radio. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. And Elliot has come across some very interesting, are they fun facts, interesting facts? See all the above. What do we have with these interesting facts? Are they Bengals related? What do you got for us,
Nope, they're
Elliot?
not Bengals related at all. They are just
goody.
they're just facts that have happened on this date in history. So here we go.
That's good.
In 2010, The Social Network was released at a New York Film Festival.
Nice.
You like that movie?
I like that movie.
In 2007, on this date, the American sitcom The Big Bang Theory premiered.
Bazinga.
Bazinga. Soft kitty, warm kitty, little ball of fur. Happy kitty, sleepy kitty.
Purr, purr, purr.
That's it. You got it. You got the
Oh, my
rhyme.
Lord.
Is that right? Was that right?
1991. That was right. That was
Let's
it.
go.
1991.
That was awesome.
1991. American rock band Nirvana released their second album called Nevermind. I think it was The Baby swimming in the water.
Problematic.
1984 on this date, Paul McCartney released his song No More Lonely Nights. 1976, theatrical O Calcutta opened at the Edison Theater in New York City. 1952, KFC opened up its first franchise in Salt Lake City, Utah. Anything else fun? Not really.
This is a fun segment.
This is a fun segment. I got another fun segment. The Bengals allowed that game-losing touchdown when the Commanders had 10 guys on the field.
Oh, man, you went from like...
Was that all that set that up?
That was all of it.
That was good. I
That
like
was
that.
just, it's like that roller coaster. You're going up,
Yeah.
up, up, and then just that quick drop.
Yeah, 10 guys.
Yeah.
Back to reality. By the way, when you're talking about the Big Bang Theory, just sitcoms, Everybody Loves Raymond, you're famous, Everybody Loves Raymond. impersonation. But I thought of you over the weekend. I forgot to bring this up, but how about our James Madison? How about that? How about that?
Yeah,
How about
the
James
dude.
Madison?
Good for Mac. Good for
Yeah.
Coach Mac.
You
Mac
know,
was ready. Mac had
Brown.
the boys ready to roll. You talk about a bad defense. Now that was a bad defensive performance. How about getting dropped 70?
That
How
was-
long did that game last? By the way,
Wow.
was it 6 hours?
That was
70 to 50.
that was a basketball score.
Oh my God. James Madison 70 to 50 over North Carolina.
I wanted your Madison impersonation. That's where I thought we were going to go.
Oh, I'm James Madison.
You think I was just bringing up a James Madison
It's
score for no reason?
pizza time. What other
Is
impressions?
this all you are?
What other impressions do I have? Get them out of me right now. Anybody else? What about the? Is there a rat bird I do for the?
That's right.
They
But they're good now.
are good now.
By the way, we did not anticipate the 0-3 start for the Bengals. I didn't think we'd have to do bad Ray Romano and
Hey,
Ratbird,
whoa,
bad
whoa.
Ratbird and all that. I love the James Madison. I mean, it's uncanny.
It is uncanny.
Did the chat like my rendition of Soft Kitty, Warm Kitty, Little
Mascot
Ball of
did.
Fur? Okay, I was just making sure somebody did. I sang it for you.
The lob to Jacob at the end for him to dunk it was pretty nice too.
Yeah, it was very good.
You know that D Wade LeBron
Yeah,
picture where he lobs it up? Like that's just what I pictured there.
Did you watch the play at the end of the game where the Bengals defense allowed a game-losing touchdown while the Commanders didn't know what play they were running and they had 10
And it
guys?
was 10
on-
guys on the field?
Yeah.
Did you see that? I saw it.
We all
As I
saw it.
watched my hopes and and then I watched Joe Burrow march down the field in 3 seconds. In 3 seconds to score a touchdown. Joe Burrow had 2 of the most clinical drives I've ever seen a quarterback have. And they lost.
They lost because Joe Burrow couldn't score 8 points instead
112
of 7.
and 1.
If Joe Burrow can score 50 a game, we've got a real shot.
That's how you do it.
Probably win 10.
So I don't know if you.
Would be enough for 10.
So in the post game, Zach Taylor was asked about Cam Taylor-Britt's comments about the Commanders' offense. I'm here to tell you, Zach Taylor got on his high horse and said he made it clear that he didn't appreciate Cam Taylor-Britt's comments. This is like he said, we don't do that here. I'm like, yes, you do. That's exactly what you've done. You have that's been the identity of this team. And again, not in a bad way, but the arrogance and the confidence and everything else. That's exactly what this team did. Had they beat the Commanders like they were supposed to, Zach Taylor would not have come into that press conference and said, "That's not what we do here." That's how Burrowhead got started.
Yeah.
That's how, I'm not putting Cam Taylor-Britt in the same level as a Jamar Chase or a Joe Burrow or those guys, but that's exactly what this team does. I like Zach, but I had a problem with don't pretend to have we don't do that here. Oh, stop it with that. Yes, you do. Like Cam Taylor-Britt, I appreciated his honesty in the postgame, knowing that his coach is mad at him, said he didn't regret it one bit. He complimented them after and all this stuff and whatever. But you kind of want your guys to have a little of that type of personality, a little bit of that type of fire or whatever. So don't say that doesn't happen here. It does happen here. It's always happened here. And that's one reason why the Bengals are disliked around the league from some of the players. It's because they do talk a lot. But if you talk, you got to back it up. But the Bengals have done a lot of talking over the years, and they haven't always backed it up. Casey?
To be fair to Cam Taylor-Britt, I certainly think that was a college-styled offense. That's just how bad our defense is, that we probably would get smoked by Ohio State or Texas.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
I saw Jacob showed me I don't know if we have that, but Jacob showed me the pass chart.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels.
Of Jaden Daniels. He didn't throw to Cam Taylor-Britt's side pretty much at all.
They played an NFL football game with half a field.
Correct. So I know there was the one massive play that CTB led up, but outside of that, I think there was only 3 passes or maybe 4 completions to that side of the field. Everything else was from the other side.
I've got it pulled up here in just a second.
That's if you are able to eliminate the hash and over in an NFL game, you should be able to stop that offense more times than not. Jaden Daniels goes 21 of 23, throwing 19 balls to the right half of the field. I don't know whether Cam Taylor-Britt's better than a lot of us are willing to give him credit for, or if Dax Hill's really that bad. But what an atrocious game for Dax Hill on that right side of the defense. The Commanders just had no intention about attacking anyone else.
That's a wild, especially with everything just on that one side of the field.
Everything, dude.
And it wasn't like, 21 to 23, 254. He had some explosive plays, but a lot of it was not dink and dunk by any means, but he just had complete control the entire night. Every look he got, look he wanted, he got.
It was effortless. There was, in the fourth quarter, they would run the same 3 plays every drive. The first play was a milk the clock play, and the Bengals were really good against the milk the clock run. They'd run it for a 1-yard gain every single time. 2nd and 9, they'd get a chunk. So it'd either be a scramble from our guy, Jaden, or he would throw it for like 8 yards. 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1 play, easy first down, we do it again. First down, 2nd and 9. Second play, 3rd and 1. Easy first down. It was the same thing over and over again. The worst play call I saw the night was when I think it was Jaden Daniels threw up a ball on 3rd down, like deep in the corner of the end zone that missed. And
chat poll question's brutal.
Chat poll question is: do the Bengals finish with a higher win percentage than the Reds? Was that you who did that, or was that?
That was not me.
So that was Nick Kirby.
Almost assuredly Nick Kirby.
That was Kirby.
So Nick Kirby, I want everybody to know Nick Kirby hates the Cincinnati Bengals.
We were all
you can find him at Nicholas P. Kirby.
We were all crying and coping together last night in the post-game show. Kirby comes in and said, "All the overs in Monday Night Football hit tonight." Thanks, Kirby.
But I don't even know what I was saying, so it's gone now.
It's okay. Let's do a little buy or sell. Want to do a little buy or sell?
Spoiler alert, sell.
Sell.
Sell? We're selling on everything?
Yeah.
Is it pro Bengals?
They're just general questions.
If they're Bengals, if they're
it's the
Bengals
being
takes,
good,
I'll probably be selling. But we'll see.
We'll
I guess
see.
I can wait.
I bet you'll buy this one.
Okay.
Right?
Okay,
I think you'll
are
buy
the
this
Bengals-
one. Buy or sell Bengals edition. Okay.
Are they the worst
Start with
ever?
the offensive side of the ball. So we're going to go in slow here. We're going to go in
Dip our
nice
toe.
and easy. Buy or sell. The offense is officially back. Buy or sell.
I'll buy it. I'll buy that. I think over the last 2 weeks, I'm very encouraged by the offense. I'll buy it. I think Joe Burrow's was about 90% of what we expect last week, 85% maybe last week, and damn near 100% this week. So, Joe Burrow's great, and T. Higgins healthy. I think Jamar's phenomenal, and we talked a lot about how these young guys, Yoshi Voss, Jermaine Burton obviously didn't play a lot last night, but Yoshi Voss especially, the step from wide receiver 3 to wide receiver 2 with T out is so massive. And he had his best game of his career production-wise last night as the wide receiver 3. So, yeah, the offense is definitely back.
I'm gonna buy it. Yeah, I mean, I just can't come away from the past 2 games and look at the offense and say they didn't do enough. It's just not what I'm seeing. Maybe other people are seeing it differently than I am. I just don't. I can't look at last night when a team scores 4 touchdowns, 33 points, and they've never lost a game in the history of the NFL, seemingly, 112-0. And we're just going to say that's not good enough. I'm going to buy the Bengals offense being back. I'm going to buy Joe Burrow being back. I'm going to buy Jamar Chase and T. Higgins being back. I'm going to buy Andre Yoshivas, who had a great game. Mike Gesicki wasn't involved too much last night, but I thought he was still serviceable. Eric All, I thought was pretty damn good.
Buying this run game.
So I'm gonna buy Chase Brown. I'm gonna buy Zach Moss. I'm gonna buy the offensive line. I'm gonna buy every single part of this offense. All the stock. I want it all.
And the crazy thing is the go-to point when you've had a bad defense in the history of the NFL is, well, at least let's just score 30 every game. Ha ha ha. Well, I actually do think this offense could score 30 every game. The crazy thing is it just might not be enough with this defense.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'll buy. I mean, I expected them to do this to this defense. This is one of the worst passing defenses in the league, or, I mean, it is for sure now. Joe Burrow had 300-yard day, 3 touchdowns. I think I'll buy just in the fact that I was more impressed with how we were able to incorporate our run game. I think if you include that with the expected, that it's a buy. So buy for me.
That's why I buy it as well, but not for the reasons that, T. Higgins is back and Jamar Chase had that big explosive game last night. It's for those things, because T and Jamar usually are always on when they're out on the field together, but sometimes it's not complemented by the run game or the offensive line's not helping doing their part. But watching Joe Burrow have all that time in the pocket last night was refreshing if you're a Bengals fan, and then of course the run game as well, because I wasn't sold on the run game. I was like, Moss is a good pickup, but I got to see it to believe it. But the emergence of the run game last night, along with the offensive line, big picture, we can talk about it right now, yes, but big picture, Joe Burrow's the key to his success moving forward, outside of just his pure arm talent, is that offensive line continuing to block well for him and the complementary run game. So, yes, it's 100% back, and it might be the most important piece of that offense moving forward. Obviously, it's easy to say Jamar and T, but you could have Jamar and T, but if you don't have a complementary offensive line and run game, that stuff don't matter. I think that's very important to have that. So, yes, I buy that they're officially back. Defense.
Sell.
Buy or sell that
Sell.
The defense can turn it around. Can the defense turn it around?
Sell.
Sell.
They will not turn it around. In fact, they might just keep staying the same way until they give up a record 100 points in an NFL game. They're so bad that it hurts. The defense will not turn it around. Lou Anarumo will not figure it out. They will not make adjustments, and they will get torched every single game. Andy Dalton will it'll probably be Andy Dalton's best game of his career. And on Sunday. And as much as I want to say that's the pessimist in me, take a look at the game that just happened. They didn't get a stop. Not one. That game ended in, by the way, 2 hours.
Yeah.
That was the quickest game of all time because the Commanders just do whatever they want. Do whatever you want.
Going into last night, the Bengals were the 26th run defense, and the number 2 tied for the second best passing defense, which that's great to point at. Maybe you can have some encouragement in the back end, but last night was certainly ugly in that front. Maybe teams don't pass the ball against us because they don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe Patrick Mahomes threw his second lowest passing yards of his career against the Bengals, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't have to. Yeah. I don't have any faith in this defense turning it around unless the Bengals completely break out of the organizational norms and make a big-time mid-season move, because it's talent deficiencies, not scheme on the defensive side.
All right, let's pick up at this more buy or sell. We get Casey's response, buy or sell. Can the defense turn it around? And to complement that, too, with another question, I mean, are they as bad as what they looked last night? You could be bad, but are they is that truly who they are? Is that true? I mean, are the Bengals as bad as what they looked last night? I'll be thinking about that during the break, of course. And buy or sell, can the defense turn it around? We'll pick up a Casey's response when we come back. More Off the Bench next. I have no idea what Casey's response is going to be. I am on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait to hear what his answer is. But we welcome you back off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. ESPN 1410 Wing AM in Dayton, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Happy Tuesday, or just Tuesday for most of you, of course. But as we sit here right now, a little buy or sell action. We pick up with where we left off. Casey, buy or sell? The defense. The defense is capable of turning this around. Can the defense will turn this around? Buy or sell?
I will buy. I am trying to find the things that are going to make me convince myself that they're not this bad. I think they're pretty bad, but there's a couple factors in here that I just feel like we can't overlook. The injuries on the defensive interior line, and Miles Murphy and McKinley Jackson, and then Chris Jenkins having a club on his hand, like all those things did not help last night. Now, I don't think that makes them a top-tier pass rush, but I do think that helps them raise the floor a little bit. And then on top of that, I just can't get out of my mind that Jaden Daniels might be a legit dude. Like that final play, like up until that final play of the game, I thought that maybe, this team is just, average offensively. But when Jaden Daniels stood in the pocket with pressure in his face, with 10 guys on the field, threw a dot, I keep reiterating that same play, that final touchdown. It made me think that maybe this dude is a little bit better than what we were giving him credit for. And I want to believe that maybe we just weren't prepared for a quarterback like Jaden Daniels. It feels like a lot to me how Lamar just dominates the NFC because they don't see him very often, right? You just don't have a good game plan around him. That's what it feels like to me, is that they didn't have a good game plan around Jaden Daniels. You look at their offense, and they scored on every possession last week, and I know it was a bunch of field goals. But they figured out how to fix their red zone offense.
Yeah,
and they were able to convert in the red zone.
Like, they haven't punted. They're very efficient right now. They haven't punted in 2 weeks. Yeah.
So that being said, and on top of that, the game that they played against the Buccaneers, I had mentioned before that they missed a couple field goals. So that game would have been much closer than what it was. So to me, I feel like maybe we're not giving enough credit to the Commanders and how good their offensive weapons are and how good that offense truly is, because I do think Jaden Daniels, I know he torched us. You have to be pretty good to be able to go 21 for 23 and 250 and 2 touchdowns, but I think he can be probably something special, and that's why I think I'm going to buy this defense being a little bit better than what they actually are on the field.
The defense was horrific last night. I think we can all agree. Are they that bad though? Is that the floor for them? Like, can they get any worse? Like,
I think that's the floor for NFL defense.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
But like, that's not who they are though, right?
Oh.
Or is it?
Oh, I think it is. I absolutely think that's who they are. Or I think that's much closer to who they are than any other version of this defense we've seen over the last few years. Unless we have mid-round draft, Chris Jenkins was a high draft pick, but unless we have McKinley Jackson, who was a mid-round draft pick, that was, again, a massive reach according to most boards, step in and be a good player as a rookie, which very few people expect, at a position we have no depth at, then this defense isn't going to take a step. We're asking guys that have never performed at a high level in the NFL to perform at an extremely high level with nothing behind them, and I just don't think that's even close to a sustainable formula.
Here's the thing. When the dog bites and when the bee stings and when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad.
My favorite things are when the Bengals win.
I'm not done with the rhyme. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
Nice, dude.
But the defense does suck, and they will not get better.
But the kittens, though.
Yeah, the kittens
I
are...
hate kittens.
Jesus. What did they ever do to you?
I just hate cats.
Nice. All right, last one, buy or sell. And it really all comes down to this, because at the end of the day, this is all that matters. Doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish, right? At the end of the day, not the start you wanted. We talked about all the statistics out there about teams that are able to turn it around after starting out 0-3. We get all that. But buy or sell, very simple. This Bengals team is a playoff team. They will make the playoffs, buy or sell.
I'm going to buy it. Yeah, I'm going to buy it. What do you mean? We're 3 weeks into the season. There's time to turn it around. We're not going to win the division. We're not going to be a 1 seed. We're not going to compete for Super Bowl, but I think we can sneak in as a 6 or 7 seed. Ruin someone's day.
So I'm going to day trade it. I'm not going to buy or sell the stock. I'm going to day trade it. I'm going to get it in some quantity now, and once the time is right,
You're buying the dip.
I will sell it.
We are plus money now to make the playoffs.
Plus money to make the playoffs? That's tough for my 5-leg parlay. Yeah, I don't know. I want to believe it, but when you start 0-3 mathematically in the history of the NFL, hasn't happened.
You got to go 10-3 to have a shot.
You have to go 10-3 to have a shot. I don't know, man. I don't know. It comes down to, can you beat this division? Last year they were unable to. I'm aware they didn't have Joe Burrow, but when you go 1-5 in the division, you certainly don't give yourself a chance. It comes down to divisional games. If you can win the divisional games, I'll say yeah. If you don't, then no. But I have a hard time believing Lamar Jackson's not going to have his way with this defense.
Yeah.
Justin Fields, any mobile quarterback is going to Jalen Hurts. You think Saquon Barkley is not going to have fun with this defense?
We were looked great against the read option last night. Can't wait to play the Eagles and Ravens.
I don't know. I can't sit here and say that they're a playoff team, so I'm going to sell it. I mean, I want to say it, but one team has done it in NFL history.
Yeah, I mean, I just.
No, more voice, more power, more confidence, Casey. Come on.
No,
you bought the fact that the defense can turn around. You bought that. So that offense, that Joe Burrow walks on water. He invented water, right? We all agree. You said you believe that defense can turn it around. So how could you, if that offense with Joe Burrow, who invented and walks on water, is not complemented by the defense that you said that you think can turn it around, how could they not be a playoff team, Casey?
I just think the 0-3 start is too much to climb out of. It's just simple as that. It will be impossible if they lose this week against the Panthers. So as of right now, I wish I didn't have to buy or sell at this moment. I wish I could buy or sell next week because then I would have a better answer for you. But I'm going to sell because of there only ever being what? You said there's only one team. I think there's more than that. But one in the recent memory, the Houston Texans, that did anything. And they ended up losing to the Chiefs, giving up a 21-point lead. I don't know if you guys remember that. Deshaun Watson, shout out.
Always taking strays.
Yeah, so, I mean...
if it makes you feel better, Casey, that's totally fine.
I mean, I guess I'm going to sell.
I'm going to sell as well, but the wild thing is the one thing they have going for them is the fact that I don't think the AFC North is as good as we thought. I don't think it's as good as we thought. I don't think the Ravens are as good as what I thought coming in. And, look, they got the win last week, and that's great. But, like, the Cowboys came roaring back. I mean, they took their foot off the gas, and closing out games is a problem for the Ravens. So I don't think the Ravens are as good as we thought. And I think that – and let me ask you, the dominant side of the ball for the Ravens, is it as good as the dominant side of the ball for the Bengals? No.
No.
The Steelers, the dominant side for them, is it as good as the dominant side of the ball for the Bengals? No. The Browns have Deshaun Watson. So when you look at all of this, right – the Browns are not as good as what I thought and what even non-Browns haters thought that they would be. Like, that defense was number one in the league last year. We could talk about the quarterback issues in Cleveland, but they are just collectively bad across the board right now. So that's my concern for Cleveland. A lot of concerns there. The Steelers, they're 3-0. They're a surprise. Justin Fields is getting better and better each week. That's great. But I see it falling off at some point, especially with that brutal schedule in the back. It's unlikely. The odds are not in their favor, no doubt, but the window is still open because as long as Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase are healthy with that O-line play and with the complementary run game as we just talked about, that's the most elite side of the ball on any team in the AFC North. I still think there's a tiny glimpse right there, but that defense has to not be elite, not be great, not even be good, but just can you try and be average? Can you try and just not look like you did last night? I mean, this Panthers game is a big one because I do think – is it fair to say the season's on the line Sunday? The season's on the line Sunday?
Yeah,
it is.
The season was on the line last night.
It was on the line week 2. The season's on the line every single time.
Well, let me ask you. They beat the Commanders last night, and let's say they find a way. I mean, the Commanders played great. Let's say Joe Burrow comes back and leads them to a narrow 1-point win. It doesn't erase the fact how bad the defense was, but you would still feel better going into the matchup with the Panthers. And let's say they lose that, you'd still be 1-3, and the season wouldn't be done then.
1-3 is so different than 0-3, even if you win in week 4.
But the order, so you're saying the record doesn't matter, it's the order.
Yeah, I think the order matters.
Why? And I don't disagree or agree. I'm just curious, why do you say that?
How many 1-3 teams winning in week 3 have made the playoffs versus how many 0-3 teams winning in week 4 have made the playoffs?
I just don't like those stats only because based on that, the Bengals should have never won a road playoff game or won a playoff game because, hey, they haven't won in 30-plus years in the playoffs, and, like, that's the team that turned it around. There's always just that one team. There's always that one team that can do it. Why am I being the biggest Bengals cheerleader here? This is very, very weird. I don't understand what's going on. Maybe I drank too much last night, probably. But no, that's fair.
I just don't
So
have
it's not-
faith in this
it's the
defense
order.
getting better. I just don't.
Okay.
I just if I could see places this defense could improve quickly, I have faith in this offense. I think it's going to be a top 5 offense in the league in every metric. But
The only hope is Miles Murphy.
yeah,
That's it.
Miles Murphy. I said it tongue in cheek before the season started, or after week 1, I guess. Miles Murphy needs to be a top 15 edge rusher to give this team a chance to win a Super Bowl. That might be low.
Yeah.
If the interior D line is going to be this bad, that might be low. I mean, it's been nothing short of a joke so far this year, and they didn't do enough to address it. I mean, through 3 weeks, here's another great stat: 126 qualified interior D line pass rushers. Sheldon Rankins ranks 45th, B.J. Hill 68th, Jay Tufele 102nd, Zach Carter 126th. How can you be 126th out of 126, you ask? Well, that's because you have a 0.0 pass rush win rate. Chris Jenkins only had a 53 percentile pass rush production in college, McKinley Jackson 34th. You're asking guys that aren't even very good at this to step in and be the stuff that changes your defense.
Yeah.
Like, you're asking guys whose strengths are not rushing the passer to come in and turn around one of the worst pass rushes in the league. And we're not talking about the Bengals trying not to pick number 1, trying to be a competitive team. We thought we were going to be a Super Bowl contender. And we have the worst pass rush in the league. That's the 3rd or 4th most important position on the team. How do you not address this? And they just don't. I legitimately, I forget who tweeted it. I'd give you credit if I remember. But last night after the game, someone said the Bengals front office sat in their offices this offseason and just said a healthy Joe Burrow is going to fix all of our problems.
Yeah.
And that is exactly correct, because they thought Joe Burrow is going to go out there and be healthy and we're going to be fine and we don't have to address any issues, and Jamar Chase is going to take care of itself, and T. Higgins is going to take care of itself, and Trey Hendrickson is going to take care of itself. And to a degree they were right, because I think the offense is completely fine. But Joe Burrow doesn't play defense. And the defense was not fixed.
Yeah.
And they didn't address those problems. And it's a massive issue. And it's setting the Bengals back maybe an entire season when Super Bowl windows in the NFL are not forever. Yeah. I know Joe Burrow said the window's his whole career, and maybe it is. You never know. He's great, and we always have a shot if he's out there. But how wide open that window is certainly changes. Could it be open his whole career? Yeah. Is it open like this when that cap hits $55 million? Yeah. Right now, it's as open as it can be, and you're throwing away a season because you didn't want to, address the issues on the defense.
Yeah, Bengals fans would get mad at me all the time because the last couple of years I would say, hey, this is the best roster Joe Burrow will play on moving forward. And then I said it again the next year. Like, you say that every year. I'm like, because theoretically that roster was so loaded early on because not a lot of money was allocated to that side of the ball that eventually pieces are going to start falling off unless you keep replenishing it through the draft. That's been the problem. The roster construction, as we talked about, unfortunately, those are just things you can't fix in the middle of a season. And that's really what it comes down to. And fixing things at the trade deadline, it's hard to execute trades in the NFL, as we know. Actually, I feel like the trade deadline's been way more active in recent years in the NFL. Am I wrong in that? But I feel like there's still not a move or even 2 moves the Bengals can make. They can really make a significant impact outside of what's already there.
They just historically haven't done it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the other thing, too. I know, and that's when I get in arguments with Bengals fans all the time is, well, that's not what Mike Brown does. I'm like, what? That's the problem.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the problem. So,
So to end the show, I just...
you got another one?
No, I just wanted to sing it again.
Yes.
So when the dog bites and when the bee stings and when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things and then I don't feel so bad. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things.
And with that, we say, ladies and
winning
gentlemen,
football games.
Have a great rest of your
But they don't do
afternoon.
I'm going to feel joy at some point again in my life.
We're
Because
gonna
you
do this
had
again
a
tomorrow.
bad day.
Nice. Every day you're going to sing a motivational, song
Sure.
to just bring the energy. Tomorrow, be thinking about what you're going to open up the show with.
Okay. Okay.
That's not a bad one, what you just dropped
All right.
right there.
Okay.
Just be thinking about it. Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. ESPN Radio in Dayton coming up next. More of me, unfortunately, for you, but you got Kev Nash coming up as well. It's the Kidder and Kev Show next. We're just slowly just start zooming in, just very slow.
I'm going to drive around Cincinnati and just look at the bridges.
That's a good one right there. Like, that's... Oh, we're back.
Casey, can we keep that whole first 10 seconds of the show where we all just say curse words?
That was hilarious.
I might just bleep it all out. I might.
You said it so like smooth and it was confidently, dude. It was great. I didn't have a problem with it.
It was my genuine reaction to that crap.
That's fair.
I mean, I can tell you're beat up over there. I'm very beat up. I think after this show, I'm gonna have an early day.
Harrow was
I think
mean.
I'm gonna
Harrow
go
was
take a
mean to me
nap.
last. Harrow's our good friend. He's a longtime chatter. He's a good Chatterbox member, one of the best. And he was giving me a hard time last night. He was basically begging me to cry, and I was close at one point. And he was in the chat, "Don't cry, don't cry. Whatever you do, don't cry." I was like, "I'm not gonna cry, dude. It's just really sad. It's just really, really sad."
Mousecap wants me to cry.
Mousecap wants me to cry.
I about cried when I saw Burrow's outfit.
I'm either gonna have, I'm gonna either have so let me rephrase. I'm going to have the biggest bet of my life on Sunday. I'm either going to bet the Bengals minus 5.5.
It won't be that. It's gonna come down.
I have
It's
two.
at 4.5 on FanDuel.
I have
Ads.
4.5 is a bad spread. Bad.
The worst
4.5. You have to bet the Panthers. That sucks. All right, so I'm either gonna bet Carolina Panthers money line, or I'm gonna bet Bengals minus 5.5 or whatever it is, and I'm gonna put the whatever's in my FanDuel account on it.
So I'm
Talk me out of which one. Talk me out of whatever one.
I'm gonna take just Andy Dalton's overs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
better
hold on,
bet.
I take that back. I'm not going to bet on the Bengals or the other team the rest of the because I can't bring myself to bet against the Bengals. I just can't
Yeah.
do it. I bet on the Commanders last night, cashed it out before the game.
But I
I'm
feel like
betting
if I
Bengals.
bet it, I can jinx them into a win.
But
No,
I can't
my
even talk myself
philosophy,
into doing that.
I always bet on my team's opponent to win because if that happens, I win money. And then if my team wins, I may be out money, but hey, my team won, and I go to bed happy no matter what. That has to be – that's Browns fan
Yeah, I can't do that.
advice for you guys. Here's the thing. You want to know why all is right in the world is because now Browns fans and Bengals fans, we could unite. The Browns
We're
get
back
their
in the
first
basement
night.
together.
We get the first night draft pick back now.
Yeah.
So now we can all unite in draft talk. I had
There
to
you
wait till
go.
this – now it's going to be a great run when we get to that point. Hopefully not.
Yeah, no, I'd rather be double happy or double sad. So I just continue betting on my team. And I'm going to continue to do so. So I'm probably going to take the Bengals, but I have a much, much, much bigger bet before
I had
that.
a really
Game of
bad
the
thought.
universe. Alabama money line.
He said we'll be on united on a united front now that we actually care about day one prospects and whatnot. I just thought what if they take Shedeur Sanders and we take Travis Hunter and they both being Colorado buddy prospects and best friends.
They record their podcast in Columbus. Meet halfway.
and we
I will become a Bengals fan if the Browns
You
take
go
Shedeur.
Deshaun to Shedeur.
I do not like Shedeur. I want nothing to do with them. I'm dead serious. It's bad enough I have to deal with the Deshaun stuff. I'm not dealing with I'm just not. I'm ready to give up on Cleveland if that's the case. I'm that easily fickle. I'm just saying.
What a sad room this is. I got another song to cheer you up.
Ooh.
Doe, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name,
I call myself.
fa,
I don't know.
a long, long way to run, so, a needle pulling thread, la,
No idea.
a note to follow, so, very clever with that lyrics,
That's cheap.
T,
I got nothing.
has nobody seen The Sound of Music?
No.
A drink
watch
with
good movies.
a drink with jam and bread, and that will bring us back to dough, a deer, and then that goes on forever.
Forever.
It goes on in perpetuity.
Did you see Zach Kozart's tweet yesterday? Want to talk a little Reds to close out? Is that okay?
Sure, please. Let's
Let's
end
go
it on
to
a
the
high note,
positives
shall we?
team, right?
Yeah, let's
Whatever
end it on a high note.
The better Cincinnati Professional Sports Club.
That's man. That has dropped big time. How we have fallen. Wow. So Zach Kozart tweets out during the noise yesterday with all the David Bell reaction after being let go on Sunday evening. Zach Kozart says, obviously, and this is on Twitter, obviously didn't work out with the Reds with a manager like David Bell, who is one of my favorite people all time. I'm going to stop reading that right there. You ever notice when, eventually I don't care if my manager's nice or not. I don't want to go in and repeat yesterday's decision. This is how I know it was the right decision to move on from David Bell. Not that I was on the fence about it, but everything about David Bell is he's just, former players. He's one of the nicest
best
guys
guys
I know.
in the sport.
I I'm just going to assume that most people are nice guys. I just need to know if you push the right buttons to win. So that's always the red flag for me.
Oh,
when
it's
I come
the
across
worst.
That. I
When
hate
you
that.
sign a player and they're like, oh, he's just as good of a guy as he is a football player. That stinks. I want someone who's a much better player than they are person. You're a professional.
That's what we thought we got with Deshaun Watson. And now
Bad at both.
But no, he goes on to say he's super player-oriented, meaning he lets the players police and basically do what they want. I also don't like that. So if that didn't work out, you got to find someone that is a lot more old school. Zach Cozart goes on to say that my top 2 choices for the Redlegs would be Skip and Osmus. 2 grinder-type players who know what it takes and will hold the players to a high standard on the field and in the clubhouse, which in my opinion is the most important. When guys don't do their jobs or work hard, they need to, and of course, why is this Ask Rock thing in the way? Why does that always, what is going on there? When guys don't do their jobs or work hard, they need to know that shit doesn't fly. Not publicly, but they need to know. Dusty used to call me in the office every week telling me to pick my shit up even when I was actually playing good. LOL.
Brad Osmus, 478 career winning percentage. David Bell, 474. So
But my question is Osmus a nice guy? At the end of the day, that's really all that matters.
I know he's a long-time NL Central catcher.
And this is where, that's what I knew, too.
That's what I knew.
I just don't understand how anybody can sit here and rationally think it's going to make that big of a difference. I don't care who the manager is.
Oh, I didn't really want to get into that argument from yesterday.
No, I get it.
But
I get
I
it.
just thought because he gave his 2 picks and he was just bringing up because that didn't work, the players manager didn't work the first time. I get what he's saying. If the players manager didn't work the first time, bringing in a second players manager the second time, you risk just repeating the same
Well, it really didn't work twice.
That's why you see teams in the NFL.
Brian Price failed miserably.
That's why teams a lot of times have like an offensive-minded head coach the first time. They'll hire a defensive-minded head coach the next time just to kind of that was because the flow of the NFL taking on anyone that even looked at Shanahan or McVay.
Let's be completely honest here. There's not another team in the entire league that would have given Zach Taylor a head coaching job with his resume.
By the way, did you see that James Madison, that they have a Shanahan on their offensive staff, by the way? So it was like, it did.
Oh, yeah.
That's ADD, but I thought that was hilarious. Everyone's like, you've got
I
to
saw
be kidding me.
someone found Kyle Shanahan's sister's LinkedIn and was DMing her to try to coach their college football team. It's the gene pool, man. It's the gene pool. There's another Kubiak as well. There's another Kubiak hiding somewhere on an NFL. I think he's the wide receiver's assistant for the Niners. So someone's going to find him eventually and end up having the best offense in the league.
Nick Kirby says, I hope the Reds just find a manager that would not bat Zach Cozart second in the playoffs when he had a 288 on-base percentage.
Fair.
I like Zach on the field.
We need to get him on.
We absolutely should get him on. That'd be awesome.
I wanted them to keep Zach Cozart at the time.
I ordered a Zach Cozart jersey not long ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's not here yet. They don't sell them on the real team store anymore. Had to go China.
Well, nice, dude. When China.
China.
When that gets here, I need you to hold the jersey up that you got it so we could send him the picture and say, look, we got your jersey.
Okay.
We got to do the show.
All right.
Flattery is everything. As far as that goes. You got any other motivational song to send us out with? It's been a sad day.
No. I'm out of songs.
You're out of songs. You're like a walking song. You're like a jukebox, dude.
I am a jukebox, but here's the thing.
There's always a thing.
I wanted to be happy today, and they didn't give that to me.
I wanted to be happy ever.
So now we play on Sunday, and I don't know if I can be happy on Monday because they didn't give me happiness today, which means I have a hard time believing they're ever going to make me happy.
And they give me a short week, so I don't even have the normal amount of time to talk myself back into them. I don't know if I'm going to get there by Sunday.
I don't think I can, and it's raining outside.
I'm just mad because I hate the Browns right now more than you guys do because this was our opportunity.
Oh,
this was the opportunity to strike. I mean, and as bad as the Browns are, to make your guys' day worse, as bad as the Browns are, you're still looking up at the Browns in the standings. That's what's wild about this. And the Browns have an opportunity here, I thought, to really make some noise and just rub it in your guys' faces.
True.
But the thing is, the Bengals 0-3 still seem in a better spot than the Browns with one more win than they do because there's so many question marks with all the issues with the Browns.
I mean, if we're going to be completely honest here, the Bengals could go 0-17 and be in a better spot than the Browns are. There's $172 million guaranteed to a quarterback that's bad.
You guys make way too much about that guaranteed stuff. Like, really.
It's the worst thing that's.
They made the playoffs last year without him playing half the season. They have you guys are way overblowing that.
Let's end the show on this.
And with what?
That argument.
What about the argument?
You just got upset. Let's end it.
I'm
with
not
that.
getting upset. I'm just saying like that's
No,
like
you
the
got upset.
go-to.
You got upset. Admit you
That
got
is
upset.
the go-to.
Admit
every
you got
time.
upset.
Deal.
How has it gotten in the way at this point 3 years in?
No, because you keep pushing it back.
And that's what good teams with money do.
Right. So what happens when you get to the end where it hits?
Then there'll be other contracts that they restructure and
do
replace
this.
that.
We'll
That's-
see.
No, not
I
we'll
can't
see.
do
We're
this.
watching it. It's
I'm
being
gonna
done
have to
across
get
the
up,
league.
and I'm gonna have to
73 the
leave.
next 2 years. We'll see what happens.
We already know what's going to happen. I just told you.
We don't because they can't push it any further.
That you know of. There might be something that comes out, and they might be able to just
So now we're just
snip, snap,
so,
snip,
all right,
snap.
Let's be very clear what we're rooting for here.
Well, I'm not rooting for anything. I'm just talking about possibilities.
What are we rooting for here, Kenner?
It's just a possibility. It's an option. Where are you going, dude? Snip, snap.
Snip, snap.
You have no idea the toll that takes on somebody. Why is he over there? Just change the vibe?
Yeah, I needed this stuff.
Look at that. It's noon. We didn't cut out early today. Oh, you've seen me be an athlete before. Oh, one-handed. It's heavier than I thought. I'm not throwing it back because
Doesn't that have a giant hole in it?
me or the. Oh. That's what you get, asshole. That's what you get because that one day that you threw that ball at me and I dropped it.
Throw him the hidden Yoshi. The invisible
All right,
Yoshi.
let's do this again. Athlete stuff. Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Here we
look,
go.
It's green now.
Look at that. No look.
Oh, I got it.
That I owed you money for that laptop. I totally dropped the
right.
ball with the laptop thing. I would have owed you money, dude. My bad.
Let's end the show.
Let's end the show.
What are we doing?
That wraps it up. Oh, wait, we get a throw from Casey?
Wait, can we
Actually, I just kind of want to disappear, so
Oh, jeez.
Look at that.
I'm gonna disappear.
Do we do instant replay
No, there's no replay.
No replay. Well, I could, but don't want to.
of that drop? Until tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.